Yes.
Okay, welcome everyone to the workshop meeting of the Springfield Township Board of Commissioners. Today's date is September the 9th, 2024. And we are not expecting Commissioner May this evening. I do believe we're expecting Commissioner Cobb shortly. And thank you for being here with us. And do we have any Zoom people? Okay. Typically with our workshop meetings, we start with matters of our engineer. And let's do that now. Tim?
Great, thank you, Mr. Lee. Just a couple of things on tonight's agenda that might be worth discussing a little bit. First is the Holy Martyrs Church request for a waiver of land development is
Withdrawn.
withdrawn. Never mind.
You just picked up 10 minutes.
Fair enough. Also, recall WB Homes has submitted the application for the Towns at Pennybrook. That is that townhome project off of Hawes Lane. They are anticipating the issuance of their NPDES permit in short order. In the meantime, they'd like to get started with the demolition of the homes, the selective clearing, a couple of trees that are most adjacent to those homes. We typically would not like to record the plan and put the development agreement in place until all those outside agency approvals are in place. But they've asked for the right to come in and do a kind of a pre-development agreement, letter of understanding, that will allow them to get started on the project. I don't think that Andy or Jim or I have any issues with that, but given the sensitivity of that application, we wanted to make sure that the board and the community was aware of this impending construction start. I don't know, Jim, anything else to add on that agreement that we want to bring up?
Yes, I did discuss with Mike and with Andy the fact that the agreement neglected one important paragraph, which was an escrow paragraph. Because we have to make sure our engineer gets paid.
Very,
The
very,
engineer goes in there
absolutely.
and inspects
That's a
it.
very important aspect of that agreement.
We have a professional services contract with them right now. Would that still be effective?
That's where I was headed.
Okay.
But we still have a PSA agreement with them. So I just want to reference in that agreement that we have a PSA and
Oh, perfect.
it has to be at least a certain number, although there is not a lot of work. I guess it's taking down 11 trees and demolishing the 3 buildings that are on the property, and that's it. And the agreement is very clear. They're not allowed to do anything else.
Yeah. And actually their application for the DEP permit prohibits them from moving any earth or anything that would constitute that earth disturbance until the permit is issued. So they really are limited by both township as well as state with regard to that activity.
Right. And I also mentioned my concern to Chris Canavan, and he said he fully understood and expected that. I mean, the worst case scenario is the scenario where they come in and drop everything to the ground and then move to South America. You know, we'll have to clean it up. And so there has to be enough in there to
To cover us for that.
cover us.
Yeah, I would agree. Also on tonight's agenda is Winmore Court. Recall the 2 homes that were built at the end of Pine Street, over the Winmore section. They've been built for a while. The project really has been complete. The last item for us to consider is acceptance of dedication of that end portion of Pine that is to be a public right-of-way. And everything seems to be in place. I think their permits have been terminated properly. They are really ready to go. So I think on tonight's agenda, or for Wednesday night's agenda, is a consideration of accepting of that deed of dedication for that end portion of Pine.
Yeah, I think just to refresh the board's memory, this is the one I think that started out with 4 houses or something, or 5 or some big number. And and it got down to 2, right?
Correct.
So that the road goes into the yeah, I know. The road goes into the property and then now T's. So it's going to be not your usual, cul-de-sac type of thing at the end of the road. It's going to be a T at the end of the road providing driveways for the 2 new houses.
And we're not maintaining that.
Just the stub, Jim. Just
Yep.
right here.
So as we push
Just
snow.
inside the box.
Okay, so we are maintaining it.
Yeah.
Yeah, right in the middle.
That's the area to be dedicated.
Right.
The
But not
actual.
the driveway.
This area in here?
This area right here.
Yeah.
Square.
And it gives us an opportunity. On the plan is also a snow easement So that if we're pushing snow down Pine, we can just push it straight forward past those two driveways and there it will sit until it melts. The actual hammerhead provides the turnaround for emergency service vehicles, delivery vans, and that's part of an easement that encumbers both of those homes.
And has the applicable fire company signed off on this design?
Oh, yeah, they did that before they started construction, Jim, yes.
And why were curbs not installed or required?
Pete, because it is not a traditional street, it really, if you drive down there, it appears it's a driveway to these both of these homes. Sidewalk was extended down to the end, and it really just becomes part of the entrance to these two rather large homes that were built at the end of the street.
Right. And why isn't the fire plug on the plan? It didn't need to be, or?
It is on the utility plan, Pete. It's not on the record plan.
Okay.
That's not being, the infrastructure is not typically shown on that plan of dedication for the right of ways. But it's on the utility plan for the project, yes.
So we will now plow to the end of this easement,
Yes,
Correct.
not easement to the,
Right away,
the
yeah.
extension of it, yeah,
yeah,
2,200 square feet.
right.
And how does that work for like fire trucks turning around back there?
Yeah, Jonathan, so when that plan was originally reviewed and approved, the fire companies were given copies of this plan, and there are easements on either side in those driveways that form a hammerhead. So the fire truck goes into the driveway, can back into the adjacent driveway, and then go out Pine the way it entered. And that's the same way delivery vehicles and other vehicles are doing that today.
They were comfortable with this design, if the developer agreed to sprinkler the homes, which they did, and to install that fire hydrant down there at the end, and there hadn't been one from Moreland down. So,
Have the homeowners, Mike, been given a particular location for where they should put their trash?
they've been in the houses for over a year now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, seem to have worked out.
Okay, no problem. Okay.
One of the homeowners was the developer.
Oh, really? Okay, Mr. Rotelli.
Hotel was there.
He lives there now, exactly.
Okay.
And Jonathan, it's actually an improved situation over what existed prior to that development. If you recall, that really just dead ended at a fence and a brush line. And so trash trucks would, I think, used to back all the way down the street to collect and then pull forward. So it's better today than it was before.
Originally, it was just straight in, no cul-de-sac?
No cul-de-sac.
Just ended, yeah, correct. It was a big old house back there, I think, in
Yeah.
the.
Yeah.
Noldy,
Yeah.
she got stormwater that came down that street, flooded her house.
Oh,
It's a big
boy.
improvement over what had
Yeah,
been.
indeed.
Used to be an old barn back there or a horse barn.
Yeah, it was.
My buddy's house on East Lane back then.
Mhm. Interesting. Other thing I have for tonight is I'm not sure if anyone's been by Integrity Road recently, but our stormwater improvement, our detention basin, rain garden that we are building is really coming along nicely. All of the kind of bulk earthwork has been completed. The beginnings of our channel have been installed. Topsoil is being spread with our amended soils. So we're very hopeful that we're going to hit a good planting season for our new plants and grasses, and all those kinds of things. Looks like it worked out pretty well. Mike and I were actually in touch with the adjacent property owner today, about fencing. The contractor is getting ready to have his fence contractor install the perimeter fence, around the basin. Recalling that of the 4 original property owners that we spoke to, one opted out, but her fence is adjacent and her fence is in disrepair. And so I think we'll have an opportunity to work with her to replace that section of fence that today really is in bad shape, that will be adjacent to our basin. So a little bit of repair for her as well. So I think that's going to work out pretty well.
Yeah, it was big, too.
Oh, yeah.
A whole lot of work.
And that planting season is the fall.
Correct.
Right now.
Right now.
Exactly. They should be planting next week. That's their goal. Yes. Jonathan, survey wise over on East Mill, we got started and then we got distracted. We should be back there to finish up that survey this week, that walking trail between Colton and East Mill. So we've been starting on that process, but got tripped up a little bit, but are still diligently working toward that goal.
Tim, if we approve this request, the agreement for the towns at Pennybrook, do they have a start date for this?
Yeah, they're hoping sooner rather than later. But I think they were saying like the end of next week, if you guys were so inclined on Wednesday night to get
So I
going.
know that they've agreed to allow the SWAT, Central Montgomery County SWAT, to go and do some training. They
Okay,
want to break down some doors, and the fire companies have requested the opportunity to do
Some
some
training in
training as
there
well.
too.
So that may take a little bit of coordination, but if they've been in contact with them and they're
Yeah.
comfortable with that date.
George Wilmot mentioned that he thought they weren't starting until October.
Oh,
So they would
okay,
have a
yeah.
chance to get in there.
My first conversation with Chris Canavan from WB was going to be sooner, but perhaps once they coordinated with SWAT and fire, that pushed them off a little bit. Yep. Very good.
Really, at Parks, folks were wondering what the process is to park dedication ultimately. You know, awaiting the expectations for folks wondering.
Oh, good question.
Of the,
So they have to build it first. So, but that's one of the first things that they're gonna do, because I think we have in there before any UNOs are issued.
They've got to finish that walking
Completed
trail
our
and
walking trail,
exactly.
The driveway entrance, so.
But I suspect, Susie, if they were to get in there and, if their NPDES permit gets issued in, say, October, then we have a couple of weeks to finalize development agreements and fund escrow accounts and record plans. They maybe get started in earnest in, December. So it would probably take them through the winter into kind of next spring, early summer, I would think, in order to get all the infrastructure in, get, that walking trail and, all those things completed. But I would suspect that, by say next June, we could probably have some kind of discussion about that. But I think we obviously have time to see how they progress.
No, that's helpful. I think just residents were curious what
Yeah.
the status was in relation to the development.
Mhm. Surely.
and Tim, have you had any follow-up with the Wissahickon, clean water people with regard to the meeting we had?
We haven't, other than, we did have a follow-up meeting amongst ourselves. Craig and Beth Euler, who's been helping us out from the Center for Worship Protection, and Mike. There is some charts we've been filling out that we're supposedly getting back to the Wissahickon Trails folks. That's on our agenda. There's some research we need to do to kind of fill in some gaps for some older projects.
Okay.
But we have been in touch with them and, let them know that
And
we
you
are
think
working on that.
They clearly understand where we are and what we're looking at, what we have done and what we're looking at doing in the near future.
Yeah, the answer is yes.
Okay.
That, we had a good meeting with them, and I think kind of filling in the spreadsheet for them is
Yeah.
their
Yeah.
next expectation of a work product from us.
Right. Okay.
Barring any questions, that's what I have for this evening.
Don't have anything.
Great. Enjoy your evenings.
Great. Thank you, Tim.
Well.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, given our relatively low attendance, I don't think we have to poll the audience. So if anyone has public comment, for questions about any agenda item, now would be the time.
I just wanted to, although I work over at Acme and I live in the area, I'm sure I know a lot of you guys. I just wanted to say, I haven't been here since before the work on Bethlehem Pike. I just wanted to say thank you because I think it's a great addition to the Springfield Township. I think it's going to make a lot safer. And I'm glad to see that the timing on the light right by the Walgreens was fixed. I think that was the big headache, but I think it's going to be a much safer road to go down and my son rides bike down there now and I'm not worried. So, thank you.
Great, thanks, Paul. While we'd love to take credit for it, really was state driven. We didn't necessarily have an
Well, it was
objection
our
to it.
idea maybe 10 years ago and
20.
20 years
More like
ago, and
20
they
to
turned
25.
us down. Remember that?
It
Yeah,
wasn't a good idea until they decided to do it.
right.
But our manager, our assistant manager and staff, obviously, create a lot of work for them. And they help push it along well. So they should get the kudos. Great. Anyone else? Nope. Okay. So we have interviews for the Parks and Rec Committee at 8. So we've got some time. So let's just jump into the agenda. Mike, is there anything that you want to get to first? We'll just go right
Yeah,
through.
let's go right through in order.
Okay. All right, tab A, the land development Holy Mars Church is moot now. I think Mike put a memo in everyone's folder that application was ultimately pulled.
Any idea why they pulled it?
The cost of the trailer, 2-year limitation on it. And I'm not 100% clear, but I'm not sure that the church wanted to go beyond a 2-year period either on the lease.
Okay, all right, so that's closed out.
That's it, yeah.
So that means they won't be able to serve.
The
It's
younger.
Under 30 months.
Yeah.
of age.
But all their other ages are currently operating, right? On
Yeah,
the second floor. of the
They've
main
got
church.
their approvals and everything. They've been operating since, I think, the Tuesday after Labor Day.
Okay. Item B, regarding the towns of Pennybrook, we covered, are there building plans already submitted?
No building plans, no.
Okay,
I mean, we've seen at the planning commission, the elevations
Yeah, yeah.
of the townhomes, so that was all reviewed. And we have the plans that have been approved.
Mhm.
But this is just a demolition permit. As I
Sure,
said,
sure.
You could file
Yeah.
a demolition permit tomorrow.
Yeah.
But for the fact that they want to take down the 11 trees also, we were like, hold on, you've got a approved land development. We want to go through this process of the pre-security agreement.
Sure, sure.
If land development already has final approval, final approval, is financing holding it up or why don't they just record it and go?
NPDES permit. He doesn't want to record the plans until he gets his NPDES permit,
Got
because
it.
something could change.
Okay, understood.
Mike, if SWAT is gonna use that for activity, will you just shoot us an email like you've done
Yeah.
previously?
Yeah, they typically will notify the neighbors in the area, and
I don't know that did they do it? a few
they
weeks
did, yeah.
Okay, so.
It was a limited,
It's probably just a few
Circumference.
us, but because our house, our street sees right into that.
Mhm.
I
You
usually,
trying to get your treehouse out of there before it happens?
yeah, but it'll save 100 emails or phone calls being like, there's 100 cows at the end of their street.
Yeah, right.
So, I usually send out an email, which people appreciated last time, so.
okay, yeah, I'll make sure I get a date.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah. But it sounds like October, Beth.
Thanks.
Well, but the training could happen before that.
Oh, yeah, the training, yeah, sure. I'm at the construction.
Yeah, we've done it.
Yeah.
Okay, good on that? Anyone else?
Mhm. And Jim, I would support this. Jim Lee, I would support this, even though I'm not gonna be here Wednesday.
Okay, great, great. All right, so C, we've covered the dedication for Winmore Court. And D, we're up to, manager's report. Was that B last month?
I think it may have been, no, it couldn't have been B. Because I would have had to jump your report and Pete's to get
Okay,
to
so
there.
C,
It was up
I
there.
remember it was up there, okay.
So 2025 budget as part of your agenda on Wednesday night, you'll announce that budget meeting schedule. Your first meeting will be next Wednesday with the fire companies and the ambulance association. Then I give you an update on the township's highway projects. Our annual resurfacing project was completed on Friday, the 23rd of August, before school started, which was always good. We were within 2% of our estimated tonnage for the asphalt and within 1% on the milling, which is pretty darn good for a $280,000 project. Public Works is now in the process of going through all those streets, doing sign audits, replacing ones that are faded or bent, missing. They're also refreshing the crosswalks and stop bars to the extent that they existed as well. So that project's good to get that done. Then highway projects for the state. During the month, Valley Green Road was resurfaced from Church Road to Camp Hill Road. And as part of that project, they did do some variable depth milling to the road to try and direct the stormwater to those inlets by Church Road, which was something that we had talked to them about in the past, which is good. One of the things they did not do yet, but they've committed to doing is repairing some of the erosion that occurred along the frontages of some of the residential homes along that stretch, particularly between, I guess, the park or 309 and Church Road. They came through last summer with a cutting edge, and they tried to create like a gutter, and they really made a mess out of some of the properties and created more erosion than anything. But they're committed to restoring that, so Ian will have to follow up with them to get them out there to do that. And then also on state projects, State Rail 309, you probably noticed that portion of that has been milled and resurfaced. We're still waiting for them to do some of the on and off ramps, but that's moving along as well. They made a mess out of some of the other state roads, Church Road and Paper Mill Road in particular, with one of the dump trucks must have had a loose tailgate or something, and there's little piles of asphalt that are leaking that we brought to their attention, and they need to get them cleaned up. But overall, it's a benefit to get that done.
And Mike, the on-ramp and off-ramp, or I guess specifically the off-ramp 309 onto Church. Is that state PennDOT's responsibility, like those little areas?
It's all PennDOT.
And is it requirement of, like adopt the highway group to clean that up, or can we actually reach out to them and say, hey, can you pick up? Because there's a lot of trash there.
They do, at least quarterly, they have an arrangement for a service to come through and do it. They pay for it. But I'll be honest with you, 2 weeks later, it looks just like it does again. It's terrible what people do, what they dump out of the cars. But they do it at least quarterly, and I know Rep. Nelson, it's one of his pet peeves that he likes to make sure he's on them all the time about getting that cleaned up. But yeah, and adopt the highway thing, that helps out. I know past Commissioner Graham, he had adopted one of the ramps. in memory
Paper
of
mill, I
parents.
think.
Mhm. And he will organize the cleanup periodically. So anybody and the Rotary does it as well on Church Road, off ramp. And we pick up the trash when they do it, so. Yeah.
Has there been any other conversation with Shekel maybe regarding water issues that we're experiencing and
Nothing recently. Our plan was to allow the resurfacing to occur and that redirection of the crown and the highway to get it into the inlets, because we think a lot of it was bypassing the inlets. So the first step, I think, is to see how that works out before we invest in what'll be.
I noticed riding by there the other day, their meadow's pretty substantial as it stands.
Oh, yeah.
Do they have any water purposefully redirected to that?
They have a basin there
Mhm.
that directs water in there, but it's not that big meadow there.
Okay.
They have another one just before that. So. Bethlehem Pike, we touched on that. We did participate in a final punch list. The one thing I wanted to draw to your attention is any of the signals that if they malfunction between now and the end of the month, that's still PennDOT's responsibility. The contractor still has ownership of those. We've been having a problem with a jumper on the flashing yellow arrow that's going bad. So there was a problem with Montgomery Avenue signal very early on in the project. And then more recently, there was a problem with Wissahickon Avenue doing the same thing. So we pretty much put them on notice. Look, if you know this is a problem, do all of them now before there is a problem. So they had to order the parts to do that, so. Cisco Playground, we had a ribbon cutting on August 28th. Commissioner Wilson, Commissioner Ratzavon were there, although.
And Beth was there.
Oh, yeah, you were there, huh? My
Oh,
apologies.
you got shorted.
I didn't see you there. That's right, you were there. There was a representative from the Montgomery County Commissioners and Rep. Nelson's office, both of which gave us a pretty substantial amount of money to make that project happen. Nevertheless, due to some of the rules that we had to play by with DCNR, that project increased in cost from a local estimated match of 25,000 up to 87,000. So last month we were asked to look into securing pricing for the replacement of a walking path that formerly existed from Montgomery Avenue to the pedestrian stone bridge within the park. And so far, we've gotten two estimates. We'll need to get a third, regardless of what we decide to do. And they range in price from 13,000 to 19,000. We don't have that budgeted at the moment. Our plan was to budget for that next year. Even if we were to obtain another price, whether it be less than this or not, nobody that we've talked to so far can get the work done before November because of other obligations. In November, it's sort of iffy whether we're going to get the blacktop or not. PennDOT has a stop dead date of November 15th for the application of asphalt. So most of the asphalt plants start to shut down right around that time to do routine maintenance, upgrades and that kind of thing. So we may not even be able to get material at that time. But, you know.
Can we make it an activity for Community Day?
Sure.
Just get some local,
Get the kids to
Bring your,
dig it out,
bring your
get a little
shovel,
child labor going?
bring your shovel.
a hand tamper. So,
Yeah, that's a well-used trail though. It's, you know, I
It
think
is.
it's already gonna be, continue to be used in its current condition, but
it'll be like a college campus.
Yeah, right,
Let the kids
yes.
decide where they're.
where the path should
go
be,
back and
right?
forth.
Yeah, well.
I did have, very informal conversation with a couple of Rotary members, just saying a nice look and thank them. And they were, again, on a very, very informal basis, but they were curious if there were any other sort of projects, you know,
That they could
put on the
do.
horizon, yeah, kind of thing. And I jokingly brought up the bridge, but I think that might be too big for them
Yeah.
to bite, but, again, rather than not to say it was a, controversial, but the gazebo lighting, got some pushback by some people, but if, you know, if there is something that, you know, would be a good project to partner with them. We could,
Are they interested specifically in Cisco or open other?
I think they're open, yeah. Yeah.
Well, need a walking path there.
Yeah, that'd work out.
They need shade. I was just gonna
Shade
say,
there, yeah.
if we're gonna budget the walking path, I'm curious if we could also budget, just to complete the project, a little shade on the side where the benches are, the double benches closest to Montgomery, whether it's the structural shade, which I informally got a quote as I was standing there with the contractor, or trees, which either would be probably fine. One might be better for maintenance, for the structured shade, for public works sake, but something to consider for that capital project, to just round out the project and, you know, it'd be nice to do the both path and some shade. It is very sunny. We take for granted how much shade that other tree really.
What does structured shade look like?
You could even, I guess apparently you put it off to the side, tall posts and some sort of awning, structured awning type. There could be a bunch, I have no idea, but that's what the individual there that is possible. And the roundabout number was 15 to 30, which when we're talking about Passover on the 65, it's too much, but at this time. But if we're gonna be talking about capital budgets for next year, I think that's be nice to finish the project fully.
I'm amazed at how much all that equipment costs.
Mhm.
Like buying office furniture. Just seems.
That was amazing because you just go with the asphalt, so then it's been the sidewalk, but I understand. It's not that easy.
Moving on, Carson Valley School. So I met with, well, a couple of members of staff met with Rick Collier, who's a land planner by profession, but has been on the Carson board for a number of years, over 30 years. He's helping them through a project that they'd like to do at the schoolhouse property, which is on West Wissahickon Avenue. It's the former Flowertown Schoolhouse that they own and have owned for a number of years, since like 2010. They want to put 22 parking spaces in for their staff, and they want to use pervious pavers, basically grass pavers. And so normally we would treat that as a land development. He asked if there was a way to get a waiver to that process. I walked them through the process to do that. So he's going to appear at a future planning commission meeting with that plan to basically share it with the planners and hopefully get a recommendation that you folks would be asked to act upon. I did draw to his attention the fact that there's a great deal of interest in the community about what's going to happen at the campus now that PHMC, which is the operator, has,
Drop the mic.
it's a mic drop,
Mic drop.
has decided to, wind down all the educational and residential operations at the site. He assured, me and the rest of the staff that they've made arrangements to make sure that the historical cottages are maintained and that the property is maintained, while PHMC decide what, if anything, they're going to do in the longer term. So I said, you just need to be prepared to answer those questions because they're going to come up at both the planning commission and the board of commissioners level. So he appreciated that and he understands. Also asked him if he had any luck in arranging a meeting with a couple members of staff and maybe a member of the board of commissioners or two to kind of talk about what their future is there. And he said he's aware of it. He's trying to arrange something, but PHMC had some changes in their executive level. So there's some new people that are just basically, learning about the organization and, trying to get their hands around the whole thing. And then also summer vacations were playing a part in that as well. So, but
And PHMC has no operational affiliation with the school.
no.
Operation.
And Mike.
Yeah.
Would that, in lieu of planning, or as part of planning, trigger an opportunity to do that trail extension that we talked about?
So it's good thought. I don't know where,
Again, while we have this
Yeah.
owner to deal with,
yeah, I don't know what their finances look like to do something like that. But it's a question you can beg of them, for sure.
because it would just be that little stretch where it sort of opens up. You can see the fields from Wissahickon.
Yeah. Yep.
So it wouldn't be too long.
No,
Along Wissahickon. Right where the fields open up, it was like, there's a gap
There's a
between
gap.
trails, so it would extend the existing sidewalks
Gotcha.
to a point where they can cross, and get the sidewalk on the other side.
moving on, planning commission. The planners have asked, and you started this conversation last month, if there's a preference for them to tackle the comprehensive plan or the zoning ordinance. I gave you a little bit of background on what the comp plan is and how frequently that's typically updated, and what the zoning ordinance, purpose for that is. So the comp plan is typically I guess it's an aspirational plan. It's a vision, with usually like a 10-year lifespan or horizon. The zoning code is a regulatory tool that helps implement the comprehensive plan by way of, the regulations that are contained within it. So, your choice.
We're not beholden to a specific date for the comp plan, right? There's not a regulation that's, I know you're supposed to do it every 10 years, but there's no.
Yeah, it's a recommendation.
It's a recommendation.
It's not a NPC requirement.
And it becomes less important as your township gets more and more developed, what are you gonna plan?
Well, may I,
I watched the last month's workshop meeting, and I thought it was decided that the planning commission was going to devote the second planning commission meeting of the month to looking at, and I think you decided on the comprehensive plan. No, I think you decided on the zoning because you said that there's the comprehensive plan, the comprehensive plan, because it's so general that the zoning isn't going to really depend on it.
We started talking
Those
about.
were your
we didn't make a
words.
decision.
No, no decision made.
I think the board did exactly what you just started to do there. They kind of poked themselves around in a circle and said, let's sleep on it and talk about it next month.
Mhm.
And that's where the planning commission raised it again this month and said, hey, can we get some direction from the board? But you're right, that the second meeting of every month was to be dedicated towards these kind of. like
Whatever special
planning
project.
initiatives.
I'm just saying because I'm on the open space subcommittee is of the EAC is coming into form. And we are very interested in being involved and aware of the zoning and the comprehensive plan. And then our nonprofit Springfield Open Space is also very interested in the decisions that are, that our Board of Commissioners are going to come together to form these, very important zoning code. I think that Commissioner Cobb mentioned that there were several institutional businesses in financial trouble that might be trying to do the same thing that other institutional property owners did in terms of forcing the township's hand into making them residential. And, this is something that, we want, I think that all of us want there to be planning rather than to be put in situations where, oh, well, 40 townhouses is better than a behavioral health institute. Or so that, and I think that even Jeff Harbinson, when he was interviewing for being on the Planning Commission, mentioned that he would like to see some changes in that's in the SALDO, but probably also the zoning. So these are important things that are still extremely relevant, especially with the increasing decaying loss of tree canopy in our township, and the where we don't really have, there isn't an environmental voice that is being implemented into these decisions. And so I think I wasn't aware that it was hard, like the mic kept on cutting out, like it was very hard to hear the end of the meeting. So I didn't realize that you guys didn't decide on something, but so now I'll eagerly await your decision.
Thank you. Peter, do you want to add anything from the, From their
Well,
feedback?
from the planning side, there were only a couple of planners who expressed a preference to start with zoning. Okay, that was, including the chairwoman.
Okay.
But they felt that would be more significant and impactful place to start.
Yeah.
So.
I tend to agree. I mean, you're going to see projects come and applications come. And you don't want to be stuck with, man, I wish we had done the zoning, as important as the comprehensive plan is. Every time you open the old one, you go, oh, this is pretty good. And this needs to be tweaked and updated, but there's some good value propositions in there.
Yeah, I would recommend that we start with some, but the next assignment for the planners be the zoning.
Okay. All right.
I agree. I think before I probably would have approached it with the comp plan as priority, but understanding the challenges of zoning and just a couple questions. When was the last time zoning was formally updated?
You mean its entirety or?
I guess.
We've done
presumably
bits
that's
and
what we're doing
pieces,
this.
we've done bits and
I guess
pieces of it.
theoretically, when the last time we did a revision versus.
Oh, I don't know. I'd have to check probably.
It was the limited industrial,
No, historical came after that.
did it?
Mhm.
But it hasn't been, nothing comprehensive recently.
No,
But you
no,
just,
no.
yeah, you just recently did the amusement devices. That would be the most recent.
Well, right,
But-
I'm thinking something like.
Yeah.
No, I understand what you're saying. Like probably the largest pre-planning effort that you made was the AAA residential districts, which
Mhm.
are basically a cluster district that
Right.
says you have to take 50% of whatever that piece of land is and set that aside for open space purposes.
And that has to be what, 10, 15 years ago?
Probably more than that.
More than that, 20 years ago?
I got an email from my guy. And what's the timeline for something like this, a zoning? a comprehensive zoning ordinance.
Long. Very long. Take the Salvo as an example. How long they've been working on that? Probably just as long.
2 years.
They didn't have AI for that one.
Yeah.
Probably whip
We got
that up in a
AI
couple
now,
seconds.
so it'll be a lot faster.
Is there a universe where both of these are pursued on a parallel track?
No, well, you'd have to, yeah, lower Marion.
You'll end up with two very long efforts.
Yes, yeah.
But there was some talk of, and I met with Manny a while ago, talked about this, that maybe the comprehensive plan maybe has a subcommittee where it's not all on the planning commission. Because there are other parties and advisory commissions that may have someone that has time to dedicate to that. So you could form a subcommittee. That remains to be seen, but if it's still done primarily at the planning commission, they get a heavy load of plans to look at. I mean, some months they don't even really get to work on it. So trying to do both at the same time, I think would be problematic.
Yeah, it would be almost impossible for us to do that.
And
You may have conflicting plans or conflicting documents
And are
if
there,
they're working in isolation.
are there third parties that other townships or municipalities hire to sort of help with these types of things so that our guys aren't aren't tasked with something that they can't dedicate 100% of the time to, and maybe pay a little money, get it done in 9 months versus, they get to it when they can and end up being a 3-year process.
Most of the behind the scenes work will get done by the county planning commission as our community planner, and they'll present recommendations or draft chapters to the planning commission for review. And then they'll review those items and make comments and suggestions and take comment from the public. And
Is that scope already included in our contract with them?
no, our contract ends at the end of this year, so they're in the process of
It just,
developing
I
one.
think the contract just says review plans.
But then they also will do special projects for us as well.
Oh, they will, but
But it will be.
it'll be
included in
outside
our-
the amount.
Yeah, as part of their regular meetings.
Right. Okay.
Remember too, with regard to zoning, that there's really two aspects to doing zoning. One is the map
Mhm.
and what you zone a piece of ground. And number two is the regulations that are in the zoning ordinance about, what's an appropriate setback
Yep.
and all those, building coverage and,
Approved use.
yeah, approved. You can add uses or subtract uses, but usually the controversial part of doing anything with zoning is the map.
Changing.
Because you say, your land used to be this, it's now going to be this.
Mhm.
All right, so the
So,
consensus is
so-
zoning.
Yeah, sounds like the consensus is have them tackle zoning.
Just to add on a little bit about that, last month, Commissioner Ratzavong, asked if there was any way to have this, released to you in pieces.
That's how it'll be done.
It'll be done. Okay. And then just to, help me, because I don't understand, the Saldo is finished now, right?
So it's currently being reviewed by the county planning commission, like the executive peers, so
Right.
like the director of planning and zoning and.
Okay.
Our community planner has done all the work locally, and then that draft will go up to the senior level staff for proofing, for comments and that type of thing, and then they'll bring it back to us as a recommended document for adoption, and then that's when we'll start reviewing it chapter by
By year
chapter.
end
And then
possible?
you're going to be
Voting
doing,
that in December?
I don't think you'll vote on it in December, but I think it's their goal to have it back to you before December.
because I did see like, I think it was the historical commission, or committee asked for a change in the Saldo and like, things like that, like if, is there like, I mean, I did see bits and pieces of it, like it's available as a document, but it will be brought, before you vote on it, will it be brought forth to the committee, to the Board of Commissioners in a public forum where
Sure.
the public
Yeah.
can also see it too?
Sure.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
It'll be Published on our website.
Yeah.
you'll publish it there,
Yeah.
okay. And it's
not a
because it's,
Yeah.
yeah, no, I'm not saying,
it'll
I
become
didn't
part
say
of
it, but it's, the new one isn't, the new one is not really, it's not anywhere. It doesn't really exist anymore, like, I mean, or doesn't exist yet. And so it's not a secret, but it's in formation. So then I'm just asking how,
Yeah,
It's
it's
gonna be
gonna actually
released.
be an ordinance that's adopted by the Board of Commissioners.
Right,
and
right.
It's gonna go through a very formal process pursuant to the municipality's planning code. So
Right,
there's gonna be a
right.
Public hearing where public testimony will be accepted. And in order for somebody to offer public comment or testimony, we have to put it out there publicly so you can review it.
right,
So that'll
right.
all be accomplished.
Okay, and
It
that's,
even has
and
to
that,
be referred
and that
to
you're,
surrounding townships.
yeah, I was talking with, Gail Farmer, like, she's our chairperson for the, Open Space Subcommittee, and we were talking, she was like, oh, well, it's basically done, and we don't have any, we can't do anything about it now. And so, but that's not really right. There can be changes or tweaks or, like, or mistakes corrected. And then that kind of time frame will be that do you expect to vote on the saldo this year?
I don't think it's going to be by the end of this year, but I think that a document will be prepared and available or presented to this board.
Right.
Planning Commission before the end of the year.
Well, we've seen drafts before. I mean, there's drafts that have been part of our agenda packet.
Yeah, I've seen drafts too.
But if you have a particular
But they
concern
were,
or
they were
correction.
very, the drafts actually, like when I did show up for a couple of the planning commissions where they were working on it, it wasn't, the drafts didn't end up being anything like what they had.
Okay.
So,
I'm saying if there's a particular thing that you're worried about or drafts you've seen that are problematic, you can go to the meetings between now and then and.
no, I'll
talk
wait,
about that.
I'll wait. It's, it's pretty excruciating, and I commend the planning commissions and, on all the work by
We
this,
apply that word to a lot
by
of
the,
things.
Well, especially,
so, but I do want to, keep it, like, we have, just to make sure that that the environmental voice is heard and, and the, open space voice is heard, so.
Great, thank you.
I just want to share on that note with Parks and Rec, we have talked about doing basically a park by park analysis. We brought it up a number of times, and just haven't been able to get to on the agenda. It could be hopefully a model of doing some of these stuff coincidentally, rather than wait for the comprehensive master plan, and hopefully our committee will be able to get to that and basically do an asset review of the parks and start there. That's our contribution at Parks.
Great. Are we in between one of your topics?
You can do.
Okay. Ma'am, I saw you came in late. Do you have a particular agenda item that you wanted to be here for?
interviews.
Oh, interviews. Okay, great, great.
All right, I'll try and get through this.
I'm quite early for my.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, it's okay.
You're on time.
Good.
Great.
All right, so let me try and blow through this.
Go
So
ahead, yeah.
Monco 2050 Montgomery County is doing their comprehensive plan update, and they're looking for resident input. So you have a flyer in your agenda materials that you got.
Is that for the general public?
Yeah, the general public can weigh in on that as well, find out what their process is and how they're updating that. First responder appreciation.
Do they have a,
There's
this was
a
a-
QR code.
does it work?
Mhm.
Okay. Because it came as a PDF, but it was like a scan, so none of, you couldn't click any of these links.
They wouldn't, okay.
Okay,
I think it did control. Center, it would do it.
okay.
I think it would.
I'm sure they have this on their website too.
Yeah.
If it's for public consumption.
First Responders Appreciation Night, they finally settled on the date of November 25th. Going to be at Orland Fire Company. That's just a way for the Board of Commissioners to thank the paid and volunteer firefighters and ambulance personnel and police officers for all that they do. Tank car property, just giving you an update on that RFP that we have out there to select a planner consultant for the master plan for that property. We had a pre-proposal meeting on August 22nd. We did have 6 planning and engineering firms who showed up. They all indicated that they intend to submit a proposal, so they're due on September 13th, which is this Friday at noon. Entry level police officer exam, that happened on Saturday. There were 112 people who were registered to take the exam. I'm not sure how many actually showed up. Usually they have about is that what it was? Yeah.
And Mike, with tank car, is there any more follow-up on the well testing?
No, other than we got good results that I think I mentioned last
But
month.
any follow-up DP or?
So now we're
feedback from them?
gonna revise our report and submit it. That'll probably happen in October, he said. That's the next step there. Civil service hearing, for the first time in a long, like, over 20 years, we had a civil service hearing. That was at the request of a police applicant who we had disqualified. Civil service commission met, everybody was here, or even all the alternates. Pretty interesting process. The applicant didn't offer a whole lot to support his case. And clearly, I mean, it actually admitted to omitting information, and basically his defense was, well, I did the best I could. But it's very, very clear throughout the whole process that you have to include 100%, and that you can be disqualified if we uncover information that's inconsistent with what you put down. So no surprise, they had a public vote and voted to sustain the disqualification. Then I gave you an update, Nancy Ashton, she worked her last day on August 28th. She's been down the shore for the last week and a half with her husband Bob on well-earned vacation. That'll be a topic later on in your agenda book. And planning and zoning officer is out on medical leave right now, and I made arrangements with our building inspection firm to do the zoning reviews for the building permits and things that come in for UNO. But Mark and I or Craig and I are here. We got to walk in and somebody needs direction on something. And Robin is the administrative assistant back there. She's been doing it for a long time. She can interpret, she knows how the code works as well for like basic stuff, garden shed, that kind of thing. So that's that.
Great, thank you, Mike. Any questions on the bill listing? Tab E. Okay. Tab F, you mentioned the budget schedule. As you mentioned, we have the first budget meeting on September the 18th with the fire ambulance support agencies, and then our budget workshop on October 16th at 7 p.m. Budget presentation on November 13th at 7:30 p.m. Part of our, is that our business meeting?
Yes.
Okay, and then our next budget hearing, our business meeting in December on the 11th, and then the same night we'll adopt the budget, pending no disasters. And all of those meetings will be held here at the Springfield Township Administration Building. Okay, why don't we stop there and do our interviews. So the next item might be more than 5 minutes, maybe not, but I think it's a good spot to stop. Let's have our interviews.
That is K.
Tab K. Okay. Alexandra? You're Christina. So you're at 8:20. Okay. Yeah, I don't see why not. I guess yeah, what's 13? Oh, okay. So tab M, the Vice Sheriff Facility Indoor. Crap, I fell apart. Mike, you want to cover that? Kind of where we stand there?
Yeah, I can do the best I can. So, trying to be brief. So through the approval process for the indoor training facility at Glacier Field, there was a presentation with the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee. Our normal process is we invite the neighbors who are adjacent to the property and within 500-foot distance, about any kind of an improvement that's going to be in there. There were some folks who did attend the Park and Rec meeting, when that was initially proposed. I believe it was on December 7th of 2022. They had some concerns about stormwater principally, as well as traffic and impacts on their neighborhood. So during the course of that presentation, I think Tom Ging was there as the president and the representative, and he suggested that, a lot of that stormwater doesn't come off of our property, it comes off of the township property, which is the Flowertown Country Club. So, there's not much he could do about that, although we did participate with the Little League to build a berm along the fence line there to try and control that runoff. And it was explained that as part of the construction process, they have to do stormwater management for the building that they were building, which was accomplished. And then as far as the impacts and traffic, it was represented that they were going to limit the use of the facility to Springfield Little League baseball and softball programs, which should, greatly reduce any concerns that, the soccer club or St. Jen's or, a million other different sports organizations were going to utilize the facility. So very much the same presentation was made to the Board of Commissioners at their meeting. The board granted authorization to construct the building, and it was conditioned upon stormwater management going in, as well as the fact that they needed to come up with a use agreement for the facility that outlined who's going to use it, when it's going to be used, that type of thing, which never got done. And then that was brought to their attention in June after we heard some comments at this meeting that people weren't getting access to the facility. I was asked to look into, did we put any use restrictions on it? How did that ever get memorialized? Basically, the only, conditions that were placed on the approval were the stormwater management and the use agreement. So I met on August 28th with 3 representatives from the Little League, well, 2 representatives and a community volunteer who's trying to help out, with getting the organization bylaws updated and some of the other documents from a legal perspective. And we talked about how they'd like to utilize the facility, and I tried to reduce that into a agreement that was shared with the solicitor's office. And I know Jim has a few comments that he'd like to make on it or incorporate into the agreement. And I don't know if you wanted to go over them now or if you wanted to just explain what.
Well, when I read the original agreement, I was unaware that there was such an incredibly detailed agreement between the township and the Little League for the use of the park. A lot of, there was one line. The land use agreement. And there was one line in the short agreement that just said all the other agreements are incorporated. Well, I asked Mike, could he please send me all the other agreements? And it was like, somebody read my mind as to all the issues that I had raised. And they were all in the other agreements, or almost 90% were in there. So the question for the commissioners is whether, I told Mike when we talked about this today, we can either do 2 agreements, one for the indoor facility and one for the fields, or just put it all into one agreement and then you'll always know where everything is. And we won't have to say that one incorporates the other because it'll be one agreement. But that's entirely up to you. We can do it separate, one for the building and one for the fields, or we can do it all as one.
Well, the land use agreement is in progress, right? There's one in place.
There's
So
one in place.
there's
and
not a
it's-
need
It's
to-
like 16 pages long. It's really detailed.
Right. And that was just amended for this year
Right.
when we went through the process and with the softball league driving that. So the land use agreement, I think, is fine in place. So I'm fine with this being separate, simple, that just
Okay, well, then it's,
memorializes what's there for the
just be
facility.
aware that short, simple agreement incorporates
Mhm.
provisions that are 3 times longer than the agreement.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other thing we talked about was just adding this as an addendum to the longer one, or as an exhibit to the longer
Yeah.
one, if that made sense.
That's
You
what
can do that too. You can just take this agreement, the existing agreement,
Yeah.
add one paragraph that says, and the indoor facility is covered by the exhibit A attached here too.
I don't have any objection to that. If you're fine
Whatever
with
the
that.
board, whatever the board wants to do.
Good.
Okay.
I mean, the cleanest is probably do it as an exhibit, right? As a-
Yeah, and then at least you'll have it all in one place.
Yeah, I see the wisdom in have it all in one spot rather than two separate ones.
Okay. So,
Okay.
so we'll take Mike's basic agreement, add just a couple more things and make it exhibit A to the agreement that's already in place.
Okay, so did you have any other comments about the nuts and bolts of it? Or you think your comments were satisfied by the land use agreement?
Well, the only thing I wanted to be sure about is that I thought, maybe I'm wrong, but I thought that the disagreement that occurred on the night when I wasn't here, unfortunately, was who gets to use how much or who is allowed to use that building. And it says who's allowed, but it doesn't say how much you get, how much I get, how much she gets, how much, you know.
Yeah, I don't
Anything
know
like
that
that.
we need to dictate that. I mean, do you guys have any comments or questions on that? You gotta come up to the mic. though.
One of the kind of comments that we focused on, just in terms of the inclusivity of the use of the facility, and Mike, the way that you wrote number one, is that it actually discludes the way that it's written, almost 70% of our program, depending on the time of the season. So right now, we're in fall ball season, so we only have about a third or a fourth of our families are registered. And the way that it's written, it specifically states registered players or families. I don't have any internet.
It
so-
does.
Right, so that would disclude the other 70% of our families who are not registered for fall ball. So if we ran a clinic today, the way that it's written, we would not be able to include almost 70% of our Little League families who would like to participate or,
Right.
so, excuse me, the way that we had
That
presented.
was actually issue number one that I raised.
Yeah,
It's like,
we were.
how do you know,
How do you know who's currently?
how do you know who's registered?
Well, and that's part of kind of the great conversation that we had in this meeting was writing it as an inclusivity, which has been kind of our keyword in what we've been doing in terms of making sure that all of our families and have access to it. And if we run, a clinic over the holiday, we want to make sure that if you're not registered for fall ball, but you're still part of our Springfield Little League or softball, you're able to participate. So that kind of set off an alarm in terms of that would stop a large majority of our families, depending on the season.
But what
from
should we say?
participating.
I mean,
I
that's.
mean, I would extend that to even if someone has never been registered, but they're a Springfield resident and they
That's
want to
what-
join the clinic, they should be able to, even if they weren't.
Correct.
How about
Previously
eligible? for it?
Well, so when we presented it to Mike, we kind of used that inclusive language. Families that used to be part of Little League and now have somebody that want to come back and do something or be included. That's kind of the language we used when we presented the draft to you.
How about eligible?
The language that we used, yeah, I think the language that we used were, I don't have it on there. but-
I have your email here.
Yeah, I forget, because we broke it down very specifically to make sure that we were including as many of our families throughout the season as possible.
It just says exclusive use of the facility for the following: members of the Springfield Little League Baseball, members of the Springfield Baseball Club, members of the Springfield Little League Softball, members of the Springfield Pride Softball.
Right, so the words currently registered that were added in your language eliminate large groups throughout this year. So like our
So I
fall
guess
ball,
that was the question that Jim said. So how should we tie that up?
Let me ask one question. Do any of those groups that Michael just mentioned permit children from other townships to participate?
Yes.
yeah, because our boundaries now we're about to have,
The
not
Little
only,
League boundaries aren't coterminous to our.
right,
township.
they're not,
Okay.
they don't end anywhere now, so, we have,
But is
I mean, currently in fall
okay,
ball.
but is it intended that those children who don't live in the township but live within the catchment area are allowed to use this facility?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, if they're doing it under the guise of part of the league. Like, just because you, a township resident doesn't give you access to that facility on your own. Now, if you're joining a clinic or you're
Correct.
joining a team,
But-
yeah.
Yeah,
The
but
way that it's exclusively written right now, eliminates kids that go to St. John's but live in Norristown but play Springfield Little League.
Right.
It eliminates kids that are not within that Springfield boundary. I mean, it's a very limiting sentence, and that's the opposite of our goal in this.
The limitation doesn't have to do with residency that's written in here. It has to do with the time of the year that the clinics could occur based upon the Little League season at the time.
Right.
Well, no, but bigger than that, it limits access to any player that's not currently registered in Springfield Little League at the time.
Understood. So, yeah.
But not just clinics, the way it's written, it would limit then access.
Can you just add or eligible to participate in Springfield Little League?
Can I have a question?
Yep.
So, and forgive me, I don't understand necessarily, but the catchment area for Little League, softball and baseball is a defined area.
No. And it's going to continue to kind of branch out. So like if you live in Norristown, but you go to St. John's, you're able to play Norristown Little League or Springfield Little League. So that kind of is where there's a crisscrossing, and then kids that go to, other schools are able to play. And then fall ball, actually, because other little leagues aren't as robust as we are, we adopt Norriton Little League, we adopt Plymouth Little League, we bring them in and let them play with us.
Could we say, children or people eligible to play in Springfield Little League?
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Just people eligible.
But I didn't know
If you're not
that.
eligible and
it was
you-
outside the
if
township.
You're eligible, then you should.
Members eligible to play in.
Any of those organizations. That's fine. And that will,
The only technicality that I'm worried about is, every youth that lives here is eligible, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
So, but if they're not intending to play baseball or be part of your clinic,
how are you
they
gonna
can't-
prove that? then?
they can't come to you and say, I want access to this facility because I want to practice.
We're at the point where if there's an open spot, we're gonna open it up. We can just Springfield Township,
Right,
so we have no problem.
right,
Anybody can.
right. I mean, the idea of this is to get as many kids and families in there as possible who, are included in our area, our population. I mean,
Okay, and everybody understands that by use of the word eligible, alumni would not be included. Like if they've aged out, they wouldn't be eligible.
Men's softball league. A former Little League players.
so,
I can never tell when you're serious.
well, that's actually a really interesting question, because for instance, we had a phenomenal clinic over the holidays and our alumni players came back and helped run it. So limiting it to from our alumni,
Well, this is just about who's allowed to,
well, it's access.
You want to be compliant with it.
Right.
But they were running it, not.
Yeah, they were helping.
yeah, but they were
the coach,
helping, they were running.
I understand, but I just want to make sure we're getting this right this time so that we can move forward and we can, continue to grow this amazing program. So I'd rather,
Wait, can I ask a question about if the word eligible is used? So to your point, so say you have a clinic and it's someone's interested in it, or not a clinic, so if someone's eligible, they could play, but they choose not to, they don't play in any of the leagues. Would they have access, would it have to be when there's open time or supervision, like who then, how do they access it if it's not somebody who's connected with Little League?
so that's actually one of the things that we are working diligently on with our communications and community engagement, is to create kind of like a calendar on our website that's going to show access, that's going to show open time. We try to cycle all of our in-house teams through there at least 2 to 3 times a season. That's part of our community engagement and communications, is to address kind of that specific issue.
How about if we don't have to make this perfect. We'll get it as good as we can get it, but how about if we say eligible with the present intention to participate?
Sure,
Does that sound good?
That sounds good.
that's great.
That's-
That's
okay.
great.
All right, I'm gonna write that down.
I was gonna say, you always get your best thoughts and then you forget to write them down. No, I think that's great, because our
Okay.
goal is to be inclusive and we don't want people to feel as though they cannot access the building. And I just want to make sure the language lets people know, we want you to be able to come in, we want you to be able to participate, but we don't want to have to check all these boxes and make sure
Right.
so that's really helpful.
One caveat I would say is that, it sounds like Darwin, but if that schedule were displayed somewhere,
Mhm.
people would know
Yeah.
when there is the open access. If
Yep.
they're not on one of these teams, where they could show up and there's somebody, but.
Right,
But
right.
just so that people know there is a time that if you're not on this team and you want to go to this facility, that.
Yeah.
Right.
And clearly, to Ed's point, I mean, that was part of the criticism that we received in June.
Mhm.
That there were players that were not able to get into the facility because because the facility was being scheduled for other outsiders.
Right.
So how is that, is this schedule?
Without going,
scheduled?
yeah, without going
I'm-
too deep
I'm
into
laughing.
what's going on, and I don't know if you guys have received the information, but we've formed 4 subcommittees. One of the subcommittees directly is addressing community engagement and communication. Part of their task is to redo the website and make it user-friendly for all families, players, if they want to go on there, see if the fields are open, if there's a clinic going on, whatever. We want to make it as accessible as possible so that that information is there for them. And we are trying to work with people who specialize in website design and things like that to help us tweak, to kind of address the issues that were brought up. So that's one of the very top priorities on our list.
And I just want to point out, the land use agreement belabored some of the detailing of this type of information through some public forum, because not so much baseball, but we were dealing with softball issues at the time, so that neighbors would know what to expect and when. That's basically the crux of this, right? What am I expecting and when am I expecting?
Mhm.
That sort of thing. I will say, back when we originally talked about the building, my memory was discussing opportunity for general public to access the space, like Springfield residents, of course. And again,
This should be
not to
added
be
as an
involved in
addendum to the,
how
or
it
exhibit to
happens
the.
from
Yeah,
a
and I have a
member
couple
without
real minor paragraphs
realizing
and
what was
that.
accidental.
We're done.
We'll call it, right? That wasn't intentional.
Someone's trying to save you money at my expense.
I don't know if that
I-
was
yeah.
or anything that
Yeah.
you discussed. I just remember that from our conversation in December 2022.
Mhm.
Oh, that took so long. Just one thing on something to come out
You gotta come up. We have a recording going.
Take 5 minutes or less. But the idea is to open up everybody in Springfield Township. That's the idea. So somebody mentioned something about alumni, so something pops in my head. We have a high school kid who aged out, who's now needs some time. That's the kind of person we want to help. I mean, I go up to the field, I see an older gentleman with his daughter, and she's obviously too old to play in the Springfield softball. They're out there playing. That's a perfect person. We're going to go over and say, listen, if you need some time to come in, you need 15, 20 minutes, and you want to come hit once a week, and we have space, we're going to open it up. That's the idea. We just don't want to get so.
Okay.
boxed into-
Fine.
I totally understand what you're saying, so I'm gonna add one more concept. Okay. How about if we add the
Yeah.
concept of priority, and that is, if it's a little leaguer versus an alumni, the little leaguer gets the spot. If that's the only spot.
Softball would always be for priority.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
the idea is the building's there, use it.
I understand. It's a great thing.
Yeah, I thought of the same thing that you just mentioned, but also supervision. So
And
Yeah,
that's mentioned in that, you'll see there when we have numbers.
There has to be serious supervision.
At the time, there's these 3 coaches with the facility all the time.
Yeah.
You know,
We had a defibrillator.
I need all that information
Mhm.
to put it in here.
Yeah, we'd be happy to provide you whatever, because we have families that are eager to get back in there, and the weather's getting cold, it's getting dark early, so we would love to be able to give you that information so we can keep moving
I think we
forward.
can do it together, where you get the place.
All right.
Yeah,
Can you get me that information? Or just get it to Mike and he'll get it to me, because
absolutely.
I had written in my list of things, supervision, 2
Absolutely.
people at all times.
Absolutely.
Especially frankly, because that door can close. So we need 2 people at all times, not 1.
Okay.
Okay, you know what okay?
Question, more general question. The Springfield Baseball Club and the Springfield Pride Travel Program, do they pay like some sort of fee to use your time and space? And is that just an exchange between the two? Are they basically sub-lessees of the?
I don't.
Back, once again, like in the history of it, back when I ran the league, yeah, they did a yearly, they had a yearly fee that just covered the basic and chalk on the field, nothing was dropped.
So is it a separate organization entirely?
It was, now it's not, no, I said now
Now
it's
it's one
actually,
organization? So Springfield Baseball Club's just a department of Springfield Little League?
yes, to a point.
Or are they 2 separate organizations?
I believe they're two, yeah,
Two
they're 2
entities.
separate entities,
Little league has to be separate, Little league will not
right,
give you a charter if you have anything else, Little league is strictly little.
right.
So should the baseball club be named as a
Both of those show up
I don't know.
on your
This is
website.
news
They
this is
have the
news to me.
Springfield, you know,
that's not unusual. Like all the
and then
leagues
on
have
the,
that are
the
separate.
softball one.
Yeah, I know they have.
private,
Yeah.
right?
Separate.
Right.
So like.
But I was worried about the
I don't know, they're
insurance
like-
and
They
supervision.
don't
Yeah.
are, yes,
Yeah.
There's a lot of
step brother,
overlap
step
with
sister.
membership.
I know yes. So like our players that play Springfield Baseball Club come from Springfield Little
Is the
League.
leadership the same for baseball club?
So that's part of our conversations that we're having. Well, it's part of our conversations that we're having in governance and in our operations committee.
So should both entities be executing? If the same rights
I guess that's right, that's where.
and uses are allowed to both entities, they're one and the same. They're not the same, but the relationship is the same.
Well, the intent was because Springfield Little League Baseball owns the building, and it's for the use of the building that Springfield Little League Baseball would sign the agreement.
Right, but if another organization is enjoying the same rights and it's pretty much identical, then I mean, legally, that should be on
Well,
paper
wait,
too.
wait. Does the other organization get their rights through Springfield Little League Baseball or through us?
Yeah, they,
Springfield Little League.
Okay, well, then they need an agreement. So that says they got to do everything that's in this agreement.
we could take that for
Okay, yep.
Appreciate the 5 minutes stuff with that.
All right, no problem. Thank you.
Thanks for all the work, Mike. Appreciate it.
So just to give them some clarity, practically, you're gonna get Mike some information that we were just talking about, that Jim wants for the
Number
agreement.
of players at one time, number of coaches. What else did you need?
Kids not ever allowed to touch those pitching machines. Those are dangerous machines. Yeah.
You don't ask the pitching machine to first, tell them,
Okay,
mean, let's get, not saying they're not,
okay,
there's only one in there and forever, so,
okay.
and as a max supposed to be,
Worst, one of the worst injuries of my life.
assuming you have whatever
One of
detailed
those machines.
details you need, what's our timeline from executing this and making it applicable?
I mean, I think if
Can
we
we,
get it, Jim can get it into a form for you to decide on Wednesday night.
Right.
Then
we just vote Wednesday and then
vote
we're,
Wednesday and
then we're
then
good.
somebody's got to sign it.
Okay.
You tell you in your email.
Well,
send me-
Don't they need to
sign it.
look at it? I mean,
I think they've seen it. We put it out on. the website.
I have the You mean the land use agreement or the indoor facility?
Just this.
both.
Just this.
Indoor-
Well, just this. I mean,
You
land
don't have
use
to do anything to land
agreements-
use agreement.
Land use agreement's done.
From December, yeah.
Yeah.
The idea to get the building, the fall wall being here, whether it's named, the idea now is to get the.
Would you be able to review it on Wednesday ahead of the meeting?
Oh, yeah. We will, yeah.
Well, the intention is we want to vote on a Wednesday. yeah.
Chance to look at it.
They want to get those machines fired up.
Well, not only
Next
that,
week.
but like, we have our AED in that machine, that building, we have our, no, but I mean, these are real concerns that like parents have now brought to our attention
Yeah.
that have kind of lit a different fire that it's as safe as possible for our players in town. Our AED is in there, our first aid kit is in there.
And there's no law of the township or anything at this time.
We don't, no. We don't have a key to it. We haven't locked it. We haven't.
Right, but we were also told that we can't go in there. So.
Yeah, let's move on.
Right, right. So I'm just saying, we'd love to move
Let's do
forward
this.
and, right,
Let's get it if we can.
we'd love. to.
I'll do my best.
Once again,
Do you want
Jim,
me
make
to
it happen.
send You or to the information like you were just asking for, should I send it to both of you directly?
Can you send it electronically?
I'll send it when I get home. Yeah.
Okay, well, send it to Michael. He'll send it to me. That's all you have to do.
and like Joe would figure out do that time. So,
Okay, yeah, no worries.
Michael.
all right, sorry for taking that 5 minutes.
All right, no problem.
Thank you.
Thank
Um,
you guys.
Well, it worked out a little bit. Our first interviewee isn't here, so we are pushed back a little bit. So Brian, you want to come on up? And Christine will do you right after. You know, is he supposed to speak into the mic?
Yeah, that's a good question. 'Cause we never really
Oh, wow.
I mean,
haven't
it's
done
a
it.
public, we haven't done it, but it's not going to be on the.
You're on camera.
Yes.
Well, why don't you pull that thing off and have a seat?
You have to
Interviews are-
sing
Have a
some-
seat? I
Yeah.
have to sing?
Whatever
Yeah.
you.
Go over.
Whatever works for everybody. It's fine by me.
All right, Brian, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Just to frame it for anybody watching, we have a a vacancy on the Parks and Rec Advisory Committee, and 3 people were coming tonight to interview for that position. So I'll just ask you to do a very quick introduction, and then we'll
Sure.
see if any commissioners have any questions. Pretty informal.
Sure.
So,
Nice to meet you. Thank you for your time. My name is Brian Sokol. I am a 3-generation Springfield Township resident. I spent some years out of the township and came back with my children. I have 2 young children who are almost 8 and almost 12, which is crazy. And I have, my first job was working at the Little League, cutting grass. And my interest in being on the Parks and Rec is really to kind of come at it from a passion for the township and the diversity in which this township is very different from what it was when I grew up. And coming back at my age, I'm excited to kind of assist it and help it do all the great ideas that I hear all the time. And my kids and I, we wander the parks all the time. We go through everywhere, and I want to sort of approach it sort of without a bias and sort of use it, assist the township in realizing all the great ideas that are out there for the use of our lands and our parks. And I don't come with it with any sort of bias or direction. It's really kind of just sort of with open ears and as sort of a new person in the town. I've only been here for 6 years, but even though I grew up here, to sort of re-envision it with new eyes and what's possible and give back to the community. So that's really kind of the open-ended nature of why I really want to participate.
great. Thank you, Brian. Why don't we start down with you, Beth? You got any questions? Or Craig, do you have any questions? No? Okay.
Hi, Beth.
Do you have any questions?
So my question is around engaging multiple generations. I think sometimes when people hear Parks and Rec, they think about like UB soccer
Yep.
or Little League baseball. And so, you know, I've been trying, and as we've had these conversations about the potential for a new building, and people say, oh, it's just gonna be for the little kids. The older people in the community don't want to pay for it. It's like, really, it doesn't have to be just for little kids. So I'm just curious your thoughts about how we can maybe engage wider use or engaging a wider age span around Parks and Rec.
Well, that's something I agree with that idea. When my wife and I returned to the township, we had sort of incorrectly assumed that the township only cared about baseball. Right. That's what everyone, you know, all the fields, everything's going on with this. And so we also often had conversations the first year that we were here of, oh, there's so many great spaces that I feel like, how can it be more engaging for people of all ages? When I lived in the city, one of the best things that we did, we had a family night that we went to at a local park where we invited sandwich trucks or a pizza. One of the pizza trucks that used to come to the city at that neighborhood lives here, Petrucco's. And we would engage them and have like a family, just like every Thursday, people would go to the parks and engage with the park, order pizza from a local vendor, and the kids are running around, but also the older folks are invited and they're a part of it and they come in and hang out. And it's not just a specific activity as much as it is community building and just participating with your neighbors, which is, of course, my own passion of politics. It's also helpful just to sort of people to talk around their neighbors and avoid battles like we saw with baseball, where you're just talking about things that are going on in the township. And when I was here for one of the other meetings, you know, it's exciting to hear when some of the older citizens are talking about wanting to do more native plant workshops and expos and things to bring people in to learn about those things. I was an Eagle Scout, and my activity was my Eagle Scout project was at the Mermaid Park, where we went in and did the stones along the creek there. And I think those types of like engagement with bringing in so many more ideas of what is possible in the parks, I think is what I would love to be involved in, is just to have that open negotiation and conversation of like, what could we use this space for? What ideas are out there that people would love to sort of do things with? Art classes, art programs, you know, watercolor in the park, you know, Friday nights type of things, just to take advantage of like the beautiful parks that we have, because they are there. And when I go by them, they're not filled with people, or they're not doing something. It's kind of like, that's a bummer, you know. It'd be cool to just have like fun, engaging activities, because there are a lot of creative people in here that have come back from the city and moved in here. That we have people who do lots of art projects and lots of design things, and entrepreneurs that the ideas are there, which I think could be really cool, So there's a lot of mixture and possibility, and that's what interests me.
Cool, thank you.
Okay. Brian, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. What was TLA?
TLA was a company down in the city. It was a film repertoire theater that I worked for many years.
Okay, associated with like TLA Video?
Yeah, the video rental stores, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was an employee there until that company went out of business, and now I have my own company that I run.
And what is that?
It's a company called Deku, which is a niche streaming platform, sort of like Netflix, but it caters to gay men.
Okay.
So we partner with like Amazon, YouTube, and many different platforms, and have a Netflix for a specific audience.
So your background professionally is sort of in video or?
My background was, I went to Temple and graduated as supposed to be an art teacher. My background is the arts and music, and I ended up started working in marketing. So I had spent a lot of years doing marketing and outreach to different populations for the different businesses I was working in. And it's gone into the idea of video and streaming and production. So I have a lot of experience in production of content, of website management, email marketing, sort of the whole gamut of the digital space.
That's great.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Good, John?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Did you grow up near any weird neighbors?
Yes. I had one weird neighbor.
Okay.
Guilty.
Yeah.
You answered most of my questions, when you answered Beth, so, any like particular, park concepts that you've seen elsewhere that you would like to bring here? I mean, you did mention sort of some of them, but
I would
Any
be lying if
particular?
I told you that I had a whole sort of idea in my mind of what we could do. What I'm more passionate about is interested is like kind of following who's already on that board and then growing from their experience. I have a tendency to be, I love ideas and I'm a self-starter and I love to do things. But in that case, I like to come into a situation that's already sort of established and sort of listen and hear what's going on. Like I said, my biggest thing is I would just love to see more community nights. I mean, to me, that's a simple thing that I think is, I don't want to assume that it's not been talked about a million times before, but like could be engaging and interesting for a lot of people in the community that would come out. The music in the park in the summertime over at Cisco is amazing. You see a wide variety of people there that you would never see anywhere else. You see young kids running around and you see people who, look like they've lived here since the township was founded. And that type of stuff is very exciting to me. And I think that's great. And so that kind of more engaging, moving that around the township. So it's not just at Cisco, maybe in some of the other parks, we can do some of those things. I think would be really exciting and kind of new opportunities where maybe the Orland, basketball courts aren't just for basketball. Maybe we have some music, events that happen or just some community hangouts that I think are kind of nice.
great. Thank you. Peter?
Welcome, Brian. Are your kids, have they been involved in the rec programs?
They have, yeah. We've been, since my children, they swim, we do FCC. My daughter's a swimmer with FCC. My son is involved in Little League, which is why I was involved. I'm actually involved in some of the family groups that are assisting with the Little League, reorganizing themselves right now. I'm working in the finance part of that process. My daughter is sort of doing, she does softball. Now she wants to start, she's in 6th grade. So now she's like, I want to do lacrosse and I want to do, everything you can possibly do. But she's also very artistically driven too, lots of crafts and everything. And that's what kind of goes back to what I was saying is that I would love to see more engagement in the parks for that kind of experience as well.
Right.
Because she loves to do stuff, but we're doing it by ourselves in our dining room, where it'd be cool to have like Saturday afternoon events where it's like, come out and do, like I said, watercolor. And that mixes with people who are older, who have experience doing that stuff, and you can circle them together and have everybody painting, just these like sort of picturesque kind of perfect examples where experience and new can work together.
And how aware are you of what's been going on with this concept of having a new rec center?
I have been following it loose. I don't know the depths of it, but I've certainly been interested in the process that's been going.
We guess you'd be a big supporter.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah. My wife actually had an idea of starting an art center over on Bethlehem Pike. And we actually got as far as reaching out to the landlord of the building and they never got back to us, but they didn't like the idea of an art center. I guess they wanted something a little more locked in, but,
Yeah, so.
yes, I think that environment, dead space is great up.
Right, great. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Nice to meet you, Brian. I would add, I would just say my question, I want to ask it to everyone, and it's really about leaning into your bias a little bit. And if you have a small idea or big idea for the parks, is there one that's, that's grinding your gears at night that you really wish you could come bring to fruition? I'd love to hear it, but no pressure, because it sounds like you don't necessarily want to do that. All that to say that I think that would be welcome and acceptable to bring that to the fore, in addition to blending in LA.
I would certainly, I thank you for that. I don't think I would have any problem once if I became involved with it, bringing some of those ideas forward once I sort of felt like,
You seem like a very demure, not outspoken person. So
Right.
keep those ideas to yourself.
Right.
But thank you for raising your hand to serve. Set the tone that I'm, once again, always pleased by the level of talent that we receive here for our committees. And I hope that should you serve here, that you'll bring the students.
Well, thank you. Brian, thank you. Coming out. Did the TLA have a concert venue?
Well, so TLA on South Street is a music venue now. TLA originally started as a repertoire theater where they would show Rocky Horror Picture Show and every crazy like midnight cult film that people would all go down to. So the people that I worked with opened that theater and then they sold it to the company but they kept the name.
That's probably Live Nation now.
Exactly. What isn't owned by Live Nation.
I digress. So thank you for coming out. I appreciate your support for the committee. And I think you've answered a lot of the questions that I might have asked. But I just want to say thanks for showing up and I appreciate your experience and hopefully we can use some of your talent in the town.
Great. I hope, said if it feels like it's a good thing, I'd love to participate. My father served on the Park and Rec board too for many years in the 80s. So he was very proud of me saying that I was coming up to put my hat in the arena. So,
Nice.
yeah, I thank you for your time.
Great. You have any questions for us?
No, not at all. I appreciate everything that you all do. I really do.
Great.
Like I said, I just hope I can assist.
All right, great. Thank you. All right, Christina, you're up. Come on down to the hot seat. Or like a cool seat, not a hot seat. But you got a slight advantage. You heard all the questions. All
Yeah.
right, so St. Deal, just if you want to make a quick introduction and we'll just go down the line if any commissioners have questions.
Sure, great. My name is Christina Kerper. I'm a lifelong resident of the township. And the vast majority of that time I've lived on Mermaid Lane, right across the street from Mermaid Park. And the catalyst for my interest in Parks and Rec was the most recent park renovations at Mermaid Park. I had been witness to the previous renovations, which was somewhere around maybe the year 2000 or so, and had seen what happened with that renovation and then also what didn't happen with post renovation. And I really wanted to start getting involved to make sure that the most recent renovation was well maintained and that the park had a voice. So part of that involved talking with some neighbors, and I'm actually sort of a founder of a neighborhood group now called Friends of Mermaid Park. We are looking to form formally as a nonprofit eventually. So I come at the Parks and Rec, with a bias towards Mermaid Park, but I've been attending the Parks and Rec meetings for about a year and a half. I've attended most of the meetings. And it's really something that I got a great interest in because I really didn't know what Parks and Rec did. So I've just been sort of sitting quietly and occasionally interjecting comments, and it's a really great group that I would love to be a part of. I have, to that end, I've also recently completed the coursework of a program called Pennsylvania Master Naturalist. There's a coursework and a service component to that. So I'm now entering the service component with a PA. I will need to get a project approved for Pennsylvania Master Naturalist. And then I will be a certified Pennsylvania Master Naturalist. One of the things I noticed when attending the meetings is that support for natural spaces, the park itself, is underrepresented, in my opinion, on that committee. So I thought that I would be a good fit to bring that perspective to the committee in interjecting comments and perhaps some expertise or resources related to the natural resource parks and incorporating some of the environmental friendly concerns to other, the parks that are not classified as natural resource parks.
Great. Thank you. Beth, why don't we kick you off again?
I'll ask the same question, just around the engagement of a wide population and how to get across the lifespan engaged in our parks and rec. Any thoughts or ideas you might have?
I think it would be great to ask people, what do they want to see? I regularly encounter people I'm at Mermaid Park all the time because it's right across the street. And I talk to people there of all walks of life. They're enjoying the walking path. They're there with their kids. It's a nice safe place where the kids can kind of go run amok. But it's still kind of protected off the street. There's older folks, just enjoying the outdoors, which is something I think everybody needs, should be able to get a little more of. So I'm regularly talking to people in the parks, and I think all members of Parks and Rec should be engaged in wherever they are, having those conversations with what people want. Mhm.
Oh, hi. Thanks for coming out tonight, and for your interest in joining the committee. And just curious, where does your love or your appreciation for sort of that naturalistic aesthetic come from?
I grew up in a family of people that always preferred like the mountains to the beach. So my family owns property in Northeast Pennsylvania in the woods. All my whole life I've been going, spending some time, in nature regularly. My mother was an avid gardener, both flowers and vegetables. So I just sort of grew up in that environment, and in becoming more involved and curious about what's happening at Mermaid Park, I kind of realized I had a perspective of, well, nature is like over there in Northeast Pennsylvania, and then this is home, and that's different. But nature's here; it's all around us. And the Pennsylvania Master Naturalist program really helped me lean into that and learn a lot more about even what's all available in Montgomery County.
And is it focused on like indigenous plants and species, or is it more of a style of cultivation, or how to design a garden or a park area?
It's more of an understanding. The coursework component is a rather fast overview of a lot of different areas of ecology. So some of the stuff I hadn't really thought about since the 4th grade. We talked about mountains and soil and rocks and bugs and birds. And the idea is that whatever you end up being interested in, you can kind of pursue that on your own. I am interested in, I have a strong interest in native plants. And so that's sort of a special interest of mine. But there's really interesting things about that I learned about water and like how a healthy body of water functions. And it's just fun to learn about these things as an adult and not a 9-year-old. It's a whole different appreciation.
Great. Thank you.
I was going to ask you about like sort of park concepts that you might like to see. I'm guessing one of your top answers would be native plants.
Yeah.
But anything else that that you would like to see here that you know about from your expertise or seen in other parks?
I think I'm a big fan, I've grown to become a big fan of Doug Tallamy, who is a professor at the University of Delaware that has been this big proponent of Homegrown National Park. And my proposed service project is connected to that movement where everybody can contribute not just in the parks, but businesses, institutions, and people's backyard can contribute to improving the ecosystem. So I think even in the more recreational oriented parks, there could be opportunities to join that movement and plant natives or, plant an oak is what Doug Tallamy says. When in doubt, kind of plant an oak, because oak trees support the most native, bugs, really. It starts with the bugs, because the birds need to eat the bugs and the caterpillars, turn into the butterflies and so forth. Everything is connected to everything else.
The white oak is our official township tree.
Good job.
Well, great. Thank you. Peter?
Well, thanks for coming out. And some of your comments about, looking at the less populated areas of Pennsylvania struck a real chord with me, and especially because during COVID, I just luckily retired right into COVID. So, all of our plans were shot. We decided that what we would do is try and go to each of the state parks in Pennsylvania, all 121, now 124. But we got to the 121, took us 2 years, but we did. But the interesting thing is that I see more deer and rabbits and foxes in my backyard in Springfield Township than I did in 2 years of traipsing through the Pennsylvania State Forest system, So to your point of the, the park is you're part of the park. You can be part of the park. You
Right.
all are already part of the park. But so on the park side, you're a neighbor. I mean, obviously you look at the park every day, Mermaid Park. And so overall, what did we do right and what did we do wrong at Mermaid Park?
Well, I think there was a lot of things done right. The walking path, I think, was a fantastic addition.
People use it constantly.
Absolutely.
Constantly.
I think that it makes the park more inviting. I know that, our neighbors on the other side of Ivy Hill Road also enjoy the park.
Sure.
People stop and talk to each other. So I think just having a path and you kind of get to see the same people if you're there at the same time.
Right.
I think it's just been very community
Plus, it takes
engaging.
you into parts of the park that you would not normally have gone into before.
Yeah, funny story. Growing up across the street as a kid,
Yeah.
the back part of the park used to have a lot more trees. That's another story. And it was very dark
Yeah.
and shaded. And that's where the bad kids hung out.
Aha,
So,
okay, yeah.
so the
Something
back
different.
part of the
Three-way
back
yeah.
part of the park was always kind of scary to me as a kid.
Right.
And then I never actually went back there very much anyway, when before the park was renovated. But now that the path takes you back there, I was like, wow, I haven't been back here in a while. And it's,
Right.
you just kind of see things from a different perspective.
And we have some beautiful stand of native trees back there too.
Yes, but they need the ones that have died and fallen down and
Right.
taken out by the wind, they need to be replaced.
Right.
And, you know, we need to really look at what understory trees are missing from Mermaid Park. That's something, that's an improvement. You know,
And
so,
protect them from the deer.
yes, yeah, that's problematic. But I think that there could be more done with natural, native plants, like other herbaceous plants. And I think it would be fantastic to see Mermaid Park as sort of like an educational opportunity. That's one of the things that the Friends of Mermaid Park has been talking about,
Right.
trying to do projects there that could be examples for other members of the community to come and say, oh, that's what a serviceberry looks like.
Right.
You know, mature, because you can't tell from a picture on the internet. So, you know, really focus on like conservation, stewardship, and education.
Yeah. There
Um,
are a lot of opportunities there.
I think Twining, what used to be the Twining Valley Golf Club, I
Okay.
think
Yeah.
they've done a very nice job. And there's also, is it Robbins? Over there, like Maple Glen. There's an educational, I think it used to be Robbins Park, but now I think it's Robbins
Across from
Educational
Temple
Center.
up
Yeah,
there?
yeah. That's like something along those lines, scaled down to fit, of course, I think would be great
Yeah,
for Mermaid.
yeah, great. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. We've met a number of times because as she says, she has diligently been coming to the Parks and Rec committee and really contributed in many ways already there. So really appreciate that. Thank you for raising your hand. This opportunity, you know, my questions about small projects or big projects, but we know your interest is in native, so I won't belabor this board with all of that. Only to say that I think she has already tremendously committed and contributed to our committee and appreciate these. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hi, Christina.
Hello.
Peter, how dare you belie my friends? They were my boys.
I
Oh,
did
yeah,
have
I'm
one
sure.
question.
Yeah.
Those your Meister
Sure.
Brows?
I hand it over, but I did have a question. Who is the designating body of the PA naturalists?
It's its own nonprofit organization, Pennsylvania Master Naturalist. So it's pamasternaturalist.org.
I won't believe it, having walked the park with you, I saw firsthand your knowledge of the native species, the plants. And it was clear to me that you were invested in the park and, that you had the park's best interest in mind. So, thank you for not only you wanting to participate in the Parks and Recs Committee, but also your work with Friends of Mermaid Park, which I was.
Thank you.
Great. Do you have any questions for us?
I don't. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you,
Thanks.
Christina.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you for being patient and staying a little longer. Yes, thank you.
I want to see the hooligans Peter hung out with.
Yeah. They're all in jail. They're all in jail.
Tough dungarees,
We did.
cigarettes rolled up in the sleeves.
You had an answer right away.
All right, where we are, we're at G. The 2025 minimum municipal obligation. So we need to, G.
D.
G. As in G love.
Got it.
Okay. So we have the 2025 resolution for adoption. I think we covered
Right.
a lot of this on our pension update call, except for the final numbers. But our assumed interest rate remain unchanged. And what's the total on that? I mean, it's like 800, 900?
With the total MMO?
Yeah.
It's 903,641
Okay,
across all 4 plans,
okay.
the largest of which is the police.
Yep. Any questions or comments on that? I guess we'll vote on that Wednesday. And the next item is professional fees. Request by our zoning hearing board solicitor to increase from 150 to 165. And the last increase was last year, right? We just increased it last year.
Yeah. And before that, she hadn't raised them in a number of years.
Yep. And then our solicitor, looking for an increase from 165 to 180 for general, 175 to 190 for litigation. You were going to give us,
That's wrong.
Yeah, no, it's 165,
It's 180 to 185. It is 180.
yeah, it's 180 now, and he wants.
Oh, I'm sorry.
To set up to 185 and
Yep.
litigation from 190 to 200.
yep, sorry, I read the past one. Um,
And then the town.
so do we not have the survey results?
I have results from 2 municipalities, that's all I got.
Okay.
But we compare very favorably to all of them.
Okay, so that's not something we act on now. This is something that we would act on
You would
for
authorize-
January 1st.
No, you would actually do it as a motion if you're inclined to do it. You don't have to do it this month if you don't want.
It's
but-
part of the budget.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought the request was
Yeah,
part of
yeah,
the
yeah.
budget. So it wouldn't take effect, even if we,
Oh, yeah, it
raise
would
it, it
not
would
take
take
effect
effect
until
till
January 1 of 25.
okay. So I would like to see the survey results, just to, I think
Yeah.
as part of the normal due diligence. But anyone have any questions or comments, feedback on that?
Any feedback or context for Ms. Harper's request? Just given that it's a 10% increase, is certainly more than inflation, and we did recently increase it less than 2 years ago,
Yeah, last year.
last year, so I'm just curious.
Yeah, I think she's just trying to get herself up to where the normal rate would be. If you looked in there, like her regular rate is substantially higher for private clients. Usually up like $4.50 an hour, and she's discounting it down to 165. I know that the zoning hearing board does rely on her counsel often.
Should we expect a 10% increase?
I would not
every 18
expect it
months
every,
now, or?
I would not expect it every year. no.
So that's the kind of context I think would be helpful.
Yeah, the only context of just from knowing the history of it, that from, it was 18 to 23, went 5 or 6 years without raising. So if it's still in the acceptable range or lower, then, we can look at it.
I can tell you that's around the acceptable range. That's the range you're going to see over the whole county for zoning boards.
Yeah, when I get I'll make another push out to get the survey results back. I only heard from Lower Moreland and White Marsh. We compare very favorably with the White Marsh rate, particularly Mr. Garrity's rate. And Lower Moreland, we're about off par. I think everybody kind of knows what everybody's charging.
On
They don't
par
want
with
to stick themselves out
with the ask, or on par with.
with the ask, yeah.
And then the third was a request by the township engineer to increase and different increases for different positions, but it came to an aggregate roughly 5.3%
500%.
raise on that. So, I don't have any objections. If they're in line, I would like to see,
Yeah,
the full survey results, as much as we can get.
yeah, I'll see what I can get between now and like that.
Okay. But there's also no urgency, right? We can vote on
Do it
it
later. Yeah,
in October. It doesn't push anything
it
back.
doesn't, yeah, it doesn't.
Anything back, so. All right. Any other questions or comments on that? I forgot to send it to you, Mike, but the commissioners also wanted to raise.
They want to raise, yeah,
Yeah.
you can't go up to $7,000 here.
All in favor? Please signify by saying aye.
I'd like to see the survey first.
Survey says, okay. Just for, if anyone's watching, that was a joke. I'm not proposing an increase.
Don't worry, nobody's watching. Yeah. Maybe they are. Well, I'm in virtual.
How many virtual? One, Bert?
All right,
Thank you.
there we
They
go.
can film it at a later, they can do it at a later time.
Yes, they can.
That's right.
Okay, tab I, zoning board, member, Winnie James Brown. And, we have one person who, James Daly, who applied as an alternate member. And so we would schedule that for October interview.
Okay, yep.
Any other applicants?
No applicants at this time.
Okay.
We still have the advertisement up there.
All right.
And, I'm happy to interview. Do we have to interview or can we?
I mean, if you know him well enough and you're comfortable with it, you don't have to. If you
Yeah.
want to do the
I-
interview.
I think, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but historical precedent has always been, for previous past commissioners, kind of give them the opportunity to join a board like that. So I would think that.
I would agree with John.
Yeah, I don't necessarily-
Need to interview.
I don't necessarily need the interview either, but unless there's some other
But the
applicants.
new- Maybe the new board members don't know him. That would be the advantage of.
I think Jeff interviewed, but I think there are other.
Jeff
candidates.
For the planning
Yeah,
commission.
there were other candidates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jeff
Yeah.
came over. The other girls.
I don't believe you interviewed Baird when you put him on.
No,
historical
I'm sure you didn't.
But
No, but also understanding sort of his outgoing request, right?
Yeah.
Um, strong thing. I guess if no one turns out between now and October.
Yeah, when do we cut him off?
Yeah,
When do we cut off the?
Typically, do you have the vacancy open? I think.
Yeah.
like-
How long has it been open for?
since last month, we made an announcement, when we appointed James Brown. And then when we, made that announcement, I asked Jamie to put something up on the website. So it's been up there with the Park and Rec vacancy.
I saw it the other day. On the website.
What did you say about the interview, Susie? Did you feel like,
I feel like in the interest of, just being sure everyone feels they have an opportunity, we, not, his historical, obviously, prejudice notwithstanding, leave it open until October and we can, no issue and we can get each time, it seems like. Just so that if there's. other
Yeah, I'll
residents-
probably cut it
If
off.
there are
just-
other residents, give a date, whatever,
Mhm.
30 days or whatever.
Yeah, like, so, like, no-
Something reasonable so that residents can have an opportunity. to participate, if
Yeah.
they wish.
yeah, so why don't you keep it open? I don't feel strongly, but I would lean towards still having him come in for the interview. Because, I mean, obviously he was a past commissioner, but it's been a number of years. Some people on the board may not know him.
Okay, I'll let him interview.
Next Thursday, we did it with Jeff, so, yeah, maybe.
Okay. Just so announcement, the September 23rd zoning board meeting has been canceled as there's no pending applications or decisions to render. So.
Okay, you did.
Okay, we did. We'll talk about that in the executive as well. And then tab L, the Parks and Rec Program Coordinator. You read Mike's memo. It's pretty, I think we may have talked about it in the past too. But looking to advertise and hire a full-time position for the Parks and Recs Department. And Mike did include some information about other townships, their indicative size, what the size of their departments are. We're obviously on the very low end. We kind of knew that for a long time. And, once this rec center is up and running, there may be a need for some other part-time positions too to man the building. So,
But somebody's gonna have to manage the people, and that could be.
yep.
One of them.
So the request is to make this and budget a full-time position for next year. I'm in favor of that. If anyone has any questions or comments.
I agree.
Excited and then all done way out. I know it's
Great.
been long.
Okay.
And my-
Thank you.
And help you.
And we don't have to vote on anything with that, right? That's not a voting item.
No.
That's
no,
just a
not
staff,
vote,
yeah.
No, it's just for direction.
Yep.
I would probably like to get the, I guess, interview process started once you at least have a preliminary budget. And then if you get
Yeah.
on your feet at that point, can back off, but like it.
I mean, I think it's a foregone conclusion. It's needed. right?
It's definitely.
So even if our budget's tight, we still need a township manager. We still need a, I think you're safe
Yeah.
starting the interview process.
Okay. Yeah, appreciate it.
All right, tab M with the Bysher Field, we covered. tab N, Recreation Master Plan, the Recreation Center Master Plan, rather. So the architects have been at it for a while. The committee had just had a meeting last week, the steering committee that is. And the project team run by the architects and a number of staff members and some commissioners have joined, have been having biweekly meetings. Most recent few have been by Zoom and they've been relatively quick. I think one was like 10 minutes, one was 12 minutes.
Yeah.
But things have been happening. So we have these dates for the public engagement. So one of the biggest tasks that our architects are tasked with is doing a needs assessment, getting public feedback from all sorts of groups and the general public. So these are the times that are scheduled: Thursday, September 19th via Zoom, an introductory meeting to inform residents about the project. And actually, one of the suggestions Susie made was having this by Zoom so that there's a recording of the basics of it. So if someone comes to the next meeting and wasn't at the first and they don't really have the background, anybody can watch this video. And in the second meeting is not the second activity, rather, our architects will have a table at community day. So any residents that want to come and talk about that, they'll be there for the day. And then Wednesday, October 23rd, in-person meeting for the public at the Recreation Center. People can actually see the facilities, come and meet with the architects, give their feedback. And then the final one, Wednesday, November 20th, here in the township meeting. And there's a bunch of other stakeholder meetings that'll be held, not open to the full public, but I believe this was already a township announcement, right? That was put out with all these dates?
We do have all that, and it's also in our newsletter that's
Yep.
been released electronically and will be delivered to everybody's household. But
Okay,
you'll make an announcement on Wednesday evening. as
Great.
well.
great. So I would, just encourage, spread it to your constituents. We want as many people as informed as possible, and be able to give their feedback.
And that first meeting is this Thursday. Oh, I'm sorry, next Thursday.
Next Thursday.
Next Thursday at 6.
I think we
Sure.
recommend the architects, they've been pretty diligent and quick, and those meetings have been productive,
They stay on task.
stay on task. The bi-weekly update.
Hmm.
So if there's any feedback to them, it seems like they incorporated quickly, should you have it?
Sounds like you're making a point that we should be paid more. We'd be more efficient, more motivated.
Usually how it works.
Or we're not paying them enough, they're like, we gotta go.
Okay, tab O, any questions or comments on the recycling report? Vice favorite? Okay, tab P, Environmental Advisory Commission. We have an interested student rep that would serve as an alternate. And so associate member, rather. What did I say? Alternate?
Alternate.
So this would be associate member. Okay. And are we going to invite this gentleman to come in and meet with us? I think we should.
We should model it after the other young person who had the question.
Yep.
It's been great.
Great. And I guess I would just maybe pass along to Brendan, or encourage him to go to this month's meeting, even though we didn't vote on it, but we would like to meet him and make it, make it formal.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Tab Q. Mike's got some equipment we have to sell. Chevy Silverado, a Chevy A3500 dump truck. And we'll be voting on to authorize putting that up for bid.
Yep.
Any questions or comments on that? Have we been selling stuff more frequently this year? Seems like every month we have a.
So we had, I will say, yes, we have a backlog of equipment that has been awaiting replacement, but we've had supply chain issues trying to get the equipment. The delivery of these 2 trucks is expected this month, and we won't list them for sale until we actually receive the replacements, but yeah, you're not wrong. We've been waiting
Okay.
for vehicles for an awful long time. Police cars are pretty easily obtained. Hybrids are a little bit more difficult to get right now. But big trucks, I mean, one of the trash trucks was on order for over a year and a half, awaiting the chassis to come in. The body sat there, waiting to get installed for a year. Finally got installed.
The fire engine can be 2 years.
The issues that we were having with the battery replacement for the police cruisers, has that been resolved?
Oh, boy, they've been running good.
Okay,
Yeah.
the replacements had come in?
Oh, yeah,
the
they're all
battery.
back on the road.
Okay.
Yep.
And we really didn't have a hiccup in terms of not having a vehicle needed, right?
No, but the fleet supervisor was nervous because we had 3 down at one time.
Right.
And, you get any other,
Yeah.
mechanical breakdown, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Supervisor's car is down right now for an engine issue.
Yeah.
That's a conventional vehicle.
Yeah.
So,
And I don't know if it was, where it was, it might have been the staff meeting, the Ford F-150
Mhm.
that the police, that's a full electric?
that's full electric.
And what is that vehicle used for?
It's gonna be a detective's vehicle.
Okay. That's our first foray into
First
full
full
electric
electric.
for the police
Is that
department.
level 2 charger?
Well, that's what we just had a meeting this morning about. Ford has a program where they'll give you a level 2 charger for free.
Yeah.
To municipalities. And I think we're gonna order the pedestal that'll accommodate 2 in case we get another
Okay.
one, but
Are
Okay.
residents able to use,
not that one.
Not
We
that
have
kind.
the charge point ones at the
Yeah.
library.
And those are the
But
slower.
those are being to.
And I would-
Affiliation or the municipalities, do separate.
Right, they're for our vehicles to charge up, yeah, because we're buying one of their vehicles.
What's the range on one of those suckers?
I don't
The
know,
full
but
charge?
one of
200?
one of the guys,
Depends how you drive it, basically.
Yeah.
And how heavy it is.
I know that they took it up to one of the other neighboring departments, might have been Conshohocken has one. They have actually a couple. They
The F-150s?
F-150 Lightning. They took it up to a conference in, like the Pocono area, up and back, and it was okay.
Okay.
So I don't know.
And the reality is that there are so many charging stations now, and with Tesla opening
Yeah.
up the charging stations to a lot of non-Tesla.
Yeah.
Manufacturers, charging is not a problem, or range anxiety in many, many cases now is not an issue. But I would bring up the issue of the charger with respect to, because, I've had a charger, because I've had my electric car for 7 years now. But there are a lot of different abilities for a level 2 charger. And basically it all comes down to amperage. So you can install a level 2 charger that gives you 15 miles an hour on, when the car is charged in, or you can install a level 2 charger that gives you 40 miles per hour for charging. And so it's really critical to understand, how you can get the most, and we want to get the most that we can out of that, so.
Does Ford actually install it or they just give you the material?
No, they just give it to you, yeah.
Okay.
But makes a big.
Well, I didn't sit in on that meeting, but
Yeah.
the gearheads and the
Okay.
Good.
technical
Yeah,
guys.
well, just remember amps. The more amps, the better.
And I'm
Amps,
guessing,
amps.
on a typical day, if there's not driving 200 miles? So you probably leave fully charged. you're
We
probably-
do want to pursue, I don't want to get out there on it. We want to pursue a grant opportunity for one for traffic safety though. Because traffic safety utilizes the vehicle a little, much more comparably to patrol. But they're not in a 24-hour operation.
Right.
Because they work during the day. We like to be able to, like as a first step, get data on that vehicle. And how that withholds through in a patrol situation for an 8-hour day. And see what the feasibility is for incorporating that into.
Because you're stopped a lot too, right?
There's a lot of
You're
idle
just
time.
sitting there and you don't have to turn the engine off.
Yeah.
It just kind of doesn't use energy.
Right,
Yep.
yeah,
It's a
but by
great
the same
idea.
token, when they're sitting there not using the energy, they've also got all those radios and the mobile
Yeah.
data
Right.
terminal on. So the camera.
All right, cool.
Can I ask a question, Mike?
Yeah.
This is just a general civics question that I was curious about. and I'm not saying we should change our way we do things, but when you go to like Radnor and Lower Merion or something like that, and they have like Land Rovers for municipal cars, is it just because they can? Like just from a municipal management standpoint, what would be the, was it to blend in more with, I mean, what is the purpose of buying like a high end?
For a police car, they have them?
Yeah.
Wow.
Did you say Range Rovers?
Land Rovers,
Oh, Land Rovers police cars?
used for like a municipal car.
Huh.
I can't think of a practical reason why you would choose a vehicle like that, which has got to have a much higher price tag than a $40,000 purpose-built Interceptor, you know?
Didn't Public Works request a Lamborghini?
Yeah.
No, in fact, when we bought the first, it was a Blazer, a K5 Blazer instead of a pickup truck.
Hmm.
There was, some little, agita about buying an SUV versus pickup truck because, it was perceived to be too fancy.
Right.
But, it carries people and equipment and now nobody even like thinks about it because they're so mainstream, but yeah, I couldn't in good.
Just so, the fancy conferences you go to, I wonder if they would bring it up.
I usually rub elbows with the Lower Merion, the Radnors. I have to ask Brandon though. What kind of fancy cars they have.
They eat at different tables.
You'll know.
Yes, exactly.
All right, our last item is tab R. And that is just announcing Community Day, which is going to be on October 6th, Cisco Park from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. And there's also the 5K run and fun run / walk starting at 9 a.m. Last few Community Day events have been terrific. We got lucky with weather, great turnouts, dunk tank,
Is there a rain date?
No rain.
no rain date.
We just call
Too many weekend activities.
it
Yeah.
up. Yeah.
And I will note that the Eagles are on bye that week.
Okay.
So you don't have to rush home at 1 o'clock if you happen to be an Eagles fan. So we'll announce that too on Wednesday.
We will announce that all as well.
Beauteous.
I have a couple of items today that came in. First one is Building Code Board of Appeals. The school district, as part of the middle school renovations, is going to renovate all of the restroom facilities in the school. And they're going to turn them from male, female restrooms to a unisex restroom with toilet stalls and common sinks. The 2018 International Building Code, which we have adopted by way of the state adopting it, does not allow for that. The 2021 International Building Code does make a provision for that, but it has not been adopted by the state, and therefore it's not our adopted building code. So they're asking for a variance from the Building Code Board of Appeals, which you just created a few months ago. So they have a petition that they've handed in. We have 60 days to hear it, but we need a solicitor. That was one thing that we did not appoint because we said, well, they meet so infrequently that we'll cross that bridge when we come. Well, the bridge is here, so we need to appoint a solicitor. So haven't really done a whole lot of due diligence as to who usually does this. It's not a real heavy lift, I don't think. Probably couldn't be our township solicitor if we were to take a position against it. You'd want to represent our interests, right?
I'll do whatever you want me to do. I mean,
I'm asking the question. If we needed to have a,
if they make a decision and the school or anybody, any applicant appeals the decision from that board, isn't the appeal here?
no, it's Port Common Pleas, I think.
Yeah, well, then there's, you,
That's the whole reason. for the
then
building code
my
board of
office
appeals.
could be the solicitor, except for ones you want to take an appeal or ones you want to take a position, and if that happens, you could hire somebody.
So if you had somebody that you wanted us to consider, fine. If not, I'm sure that Kate Harper could do it or Ed Fox, because the civil service commission solicitor.
You're saying there's also no conflict for your office to handle it.
No, because the
Unless-
appeal's not here.
Yeah.
The only thing is like, I couldn't be their solicitor and your solicitor if you want to take a position.
Right. Do you want to raise on that one too?
Well, no, that everything will be, Mike will insist that everything is,
It's
Um,
separate. You just
what do you call it,
appoint her as
retainer?
the Building code.
and Mike, would that be part of the retainer?
Oh, you probably open up a file on that.
I guess Kate's, to me, it feels like you're looking at
It could be
similar
anybody.
avenues. I mean, I guess there are similar avenues.
I didn't reach out to anybody because I didn't know.
What is it, Ed would be eligible to do, why?
Just, I mean, just because he's just solicitor
Okay.
to your civil service commission. I mean, it could be any attorney that you know.
He, well, I guess if, I don't know, just, he might have a conflict, right? If you take a position on an application, because he's a township
Because it's just,
consultant.
it's just building code. It has nothing to do with zoning, right?
Yeah, it has nothing to do with zoning, it has nothing to do with civil service commission. It's just the building code.
No, I know what it is. I'm just saying. But if he acts as solicitor to the building, isn't he, and you take a position, isn't there a conflict? Because you're sending him paychecks for whatever he does for civil service.
Yeah, but it wouldn't be any different than Kate being the zoning solicitor, would it?
I don't know, Mike.
You know?
I think you'd be better off getting, if you're gonna take a position, I think you're better off getting somebody outside the township.
Could be
But-
the
but we-
building code board of appeals solicitor.
Right.
I know Mark Jonas has done this for Abington on a regular basis.
Right.
You're gonna pay a heck of a lot more for Mark though than you are.
Right, but this happens so infrequently.
Right.
Most years, you're not gonna even have one.
Correct.
So if we do have one and we need to take a position, then we can also just decide at that point to hire outside counsel
Mhm.
versus having that in place just in the event that
Right.
it may happen sometime in the next 5 years.
And that's why I would kind of push for Kate Harper, because theoretically, if we had to take a position, it would have been an issue if we representing our interests to be like Kate Harper.
Yeah.
All.
And all I'm suggesting is that I can't tell you tonight whether she would have a conflict of interest in that case.
That was just, I mean, before we knew that.
Like I'd be on one side and she'd be on the
Why
other.
don't you ask her too?
Which
Yes.
would be like the zoning, like we've appealed the decision of our own zoning hearing board before.
That's true.
Why don't you ask her, one, if she's interested, and two, what her opinion is on the ability of having conflicts?
Okay.
You guys okay with that? Any other,
In the meantime, you can look into it too. Sure.
Be happy
I'm
to.
not opposed to any three of those options. honestly.
And speaking of positions, I mean, just on this particular matter, it seems like a logical, generally logical. Familiar with. I don't know if that means that we take a position or not, but.
Yeah, so I don't know that our building official who reviewed the plans has a strong opinion one way or the other. I mean, it's a provision that's provided for in the 2021 code, which is already 3 years old, going on 4, but the state hasn't adopted it yet. And the architects are like, you know what, under the letter of the law, he's right, you know, so we need a
Is the
variance
expectation that it will be adopted sometime soon?
someday.
What's holding it up if it's 3 years old?
State legislature. What's holding up the local use of radar? State legislature.
Well,
I think they
guess
spelled it
maybe
backwards.
Can we cut out
Well,
some of that
Radar,
time?
radar.
Radar,
RADR.
yeah.
I guess my question is, can we cut out some of that time, energy spent on that if it's a matter that we, as a board, if we are the ultimate stayers anyways, to say that we want to.
I don't think we are though.
You're not.
I
We're
don't know,
not.
that's what I'm saying, and he's saying.
That's why you have a whole building code board of appeals.
Right, but he's saying that open meeting come this way, does it help to contribute a letter that people.
I do. Um,
I don't know.
I would just stay out of it and let them decide it.
Well, it's not to us yet, even if it was coming to us, right?
Yeah,
we're-
we've never see- it would
We're
never-
expecting it, but I'm saying if we wanted to take a position, like we do with zoning,
Mhm.
and send our solicitor to give our position.
Yeah, now would be the time to decide that if you wanted to do that.
On this.
So has the appeal already been,
They
Uh,
filed an
they did file,
application.
okay.
It's technically deficient because they haven't included the plans, but we've gotten a preliminary set of plans that we've reviewed and given them feedback on. They submitted the petition along with the application fee, but they have not submitted the plans that are required to go
So
along.
when would they be scheduled to go to the
60
appeals?
days, as soon as we get a solicitor
Okay.
appointed,
Right.
I bring them
I mean,
in.
it seems like an easy decision because you'd be granting them what's just being delayed, but it's gonna be law anyway. you expect it to be, right? If it's already in the soon to be adopted code.
It's permissible. It's not a requirement under the code.
Right.
I guess that's my inquiry. Can we save anyone some time or energy somewhere along the way? That would be our contribution, if possible. Unless someone else don't be understand.
Their mechanism is still the same, so they still have to go to
So
the
no,
building
no
code.
time savings, but any
Yeah.
contribution today.
Yeah, you couldn't waive it. I couldn't waive it. The building code official couldn't waive it. It has to go to the
All right, so
Just
I have
make-
that conversation.
Just make
with
sure
Pete.
there isn't a deemed approval provision.
Though there is. If you
Oh,
go
I
there
think there
within
is.
60 days.
So be careful with that solicitorship, get that done and,
Oh, yeah, absolutely. No,
because if they don't grant an extension of time, there could be
oh,
a
I'd like to
deemed
get it
approval.
done within 30 days and we can get it done.
Okay.
Polo, are you a solicitor? No, all right, just keep it to three options. What else you got?
She probably voted for the statewide building code when she was the state rep.
Probably did.
She was probably in office when that happened.
In 18? She in office that recently?
When did she?
I think there was some period of time where it overlapped political position and solicitorship.
What else we got? Black Horse Inn, the multiple listing, contract with Dan Helwig is expired at the end of this month. He'd like to extend it.
I thought he rented it.
February. I'm sorry?
I thought he rented it.
You rented
He
one
rented
space,
one
he still has
space.
the bar space
Still
available.
the bar space. I was gonna ask Brian if his wife wants to do the art studio there.
No parking.
I know. We have 5 parking spaces. That's what that Dan said is the challenge. Like,
Oh,
there's
yeah,
been a couple
no
of people who've been
Yeah.
interested.
Yeah.
We actually had one person who wanted.
What if it was a daycare, the 2-year-olds, the daycare, they're getting.
Well, it does have
hours.
egress out of 2 side door and the front door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They don't drive. They don't need
Yeah,
cars.
right, yeah.
That's probably too
I
small
would
for them.
extend him to the end of the year, yeah.
Oh, no. That's weird. Yeah. Wouldn't work.
Plus a safe play area.
Plus, it's a bar. Can't bring.
It's a bar, yeah.
Dan's asking for through February. Do you want to just limit it to the end of the year?
Yeah, I'd keep the pressure up.
All right. We'll do through the
Will
end
be
of the
my
year.
recommendation.
Hammer.
It never lets go.
Yeah,
It's, you can only use that.
yeah, sure, like we have before.
Flowertown Fire Company, they got a letter from the Board of Assessment related to the 2-family dwelling that they built on Beischer Avenue. So they have to go to the Board of Assessment and I guess plead their case to keep that a tax exempt property. Their plan for that building is to house firefighters in there. That's sort of a recruitment and retention, I guess, benefit for them. And they'd ask if we could write a letter to that effect to the Board of Assessment. So if you can give me that authorization here, I'll write that.
Well, are they, this doesn't tell us much about what they're planning on doing here with the Board of Assessment. Are they just planning on assessing the new building and leaving the ground as exempt, or?
George doesn't know. That's all they got. So when we generate a building permit, right?
Yeah,
The county gets notice of it.
sure.
The county sees that building permit, new 2-family dwelling, they look at the exemption. They sent that notice of
Right.
hearing to Flowertown Fire Company. They have to appear, tell them what's going on there, and then they'll make a decision.
Right. And they want to plead their case that this is
They
a
want us to
use,
support.
auxiliary use
It's
of
gonna
their.
remain a tax exempt property.
That's
Yeah,
their
so-
desire,
Right.
yes.
Who
But the Board of
owns
Assessment,
the real estate?
Flowertown Fire Company.
Is there any
I always
restriction
have.
in any of the approvals from them leasing it out at market rate?
No,
There's no restriction?
nothing.
So they could do that.
They could.
If they were doing that, then it should probably be
Then it
taxed.
should be taxed. Yes, I would absolutely
yeah,
agree.
well, yeah, that's the big problem, supervision, because 1 month they could have a fireman in there, 6 months later, they could have just,
Well, we're
an
gonna-
average Joe.
I'm sure we'll hear that from
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
everybody.
Yeah.
He's a fireman, yeah.
Yeah.
I have no objection to that letter.
Is there a caveat that you would have to write in that about the, we are aware that should they do this other thing?
I would stay out of that. I would
Yeah.
just say, the board of commissioners, don't say meeting, the board authorized a letter to be sent in support of the Blairtown Fire Company's request to retain the tax exempt status for the property. Purpose of the new dwelling is to provide housing for volunteers as a recruitment and retention strategy. All of that.
Sounds great.
Sounds good.
Good thing you have that recorded.
Yeah.
Yeah, did you get that?
I got it.
And then the final one is an assessment for 350 Halls Lane. I don't know if that's executive or not.
What's
That's
350?
Marston Hall.
Oh, well, it doesn't have to be. Well, do you want me to do that one? Real
Sure,
fast?
why don't you do that one?
We do, we let the school district, because they have 9 times as much taxes involved as us or something like that, handle all the residential and most, but not all of the commercial. And the only time we ever get involved is when the commercial assessment is a really big number. It could, because you're gonna, I think in this one, what's at stake, their assessment is gonna be $16,000 or something like that to us. It's like 165 to the school district.
So we got involved, like, for example, with North Hills,
Correct.
when that was coming up.
So the question is just whether you want to get involved in this or just let the school district handle it.
Fight it out. Yeah, let them fight it out. That'd be my recommendation.
Let them spend their money.
Yep.
Sounds good.
Okay.
We're good with that.
All right, anybody else have any items?
Nope.
This was gonna be a longer one.
This might be a new record for
Yeah.
Monday night.
Nah, last month was a record.
Oh, last
Even
month?
with
was?
visitors.
Yeah, didn't we get out of here? What time did we get out of here last month?
An hour.
Oh, no, last business meeting. was a record.
Well, it was after
We're not
10.
doing-
because
quick,
you're
adjourn,
killing by
adjourn,
10
quick.
o'clock. We had it.
Wasn't much after that.
No, it wasn't going. Wasn't.
We good?
Jim?
We're good.
Adjourn.
I think we're good, yeah, yeah. All
Bang,
right, bang.
bang.
You not want to do?
Oh, wait, no, no.